Hello everybody. Welcome to the Moonbase 2 podcast with me, Andy Decay Dandy here. We're in obviously pre-show with Big D. Hi, Big
Hello.
D. You're doing
Howdy.
good?
I'm doing all right, actually. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I'm having a quick little fiddle with Vector Prime at the moment.
Ooh.
So I had him in his box. So just like, well, I'll take him out of his box.
New one or the old one?
The old one. I've had the new one. I've had the old one for a while since it came out originally.
Yeah. What do you think of the new one?
Well, I've just opened him, so I don't have a huge amount to say. But I wish his chest connected to his torso a little bit better. It's weird that it doesn't like peg in a bit more of a solid fashion. That's weird. The wings, it doesn't feel like there's a good position to have the wings for his backpack.
They are. It's a weird one. If that's the best thing you can say. There's a lot I like about this Vector Prime figure, but there's a lot that I'm very glad should end up being fixed by the DNA kit. But it is annoying that you have to get a kit to finish it off.
Yes, his little baby like shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Like he almost feels like, you know how you get Pokemon, right? He feels like the Charmeleon.
He hasn't evolved.
Yeah, he's the Charmeleon, and the old school one is the full like Charizard.
Yeah.
But like you say, hopefully that should be a little bit more fixed when the kit comes out, because I've got the kit coming. Well, I don't have it coming. I've got it.
You got it on order.
Yeah.
Yeah. I must admit, I am kind of tempted to maybe. I've got some Gundam ink, metallic markers.
Are you going to paint him up?
Well, I'm tempted to do. I'm torn because it'll be covered up eventually anyway with the DNA kit. But on his legs, where you got exposed wiring, I'm thinking, do I paint that in gold?
I mean, there's no point. But if you wanted something to do, I guess you could. I mean, what you could do is you could look at the toy hacks, because the toy hacks have got.
That's true.
I mean, they got fucking loads of stickers for him, so you could just look at what they did for the stickers and just kind of replicate that with paints, and it would be better because it'd be paints versus stickers, and it'd be longer lasting. It is kind of weird to have a Vector Prime without his giant front of his ship hanging off of his ass, because that was a staple of Vector Prime, because that's where his electronics were and his lights, and that's where you stored his sword in.
I do miss that bit of sword story, because that was always cool. I liked that, how the sword came out of the side, and it's weird that the way that hung as well, it kind of added to the wings to enhance that cape appearance.
Yeah, I would agree.
Just give him that silhouette. Which, but
I appreciate that this one does have a peg on the back, so you can store the sword.
Yes.
The problem is obviously that the sword now just has a giant peg on the side of it. But it's like, what can you do?
Yeah.
The DNA kit doesn't have the Minicon though, does it?
No. Someone else has done the Minicon, but it doesn't transform. So
what's the point?
Yeah,
he's the Minicon, doesn't transform. Yeah, but no one gives a shit about that Minicon. Like the reason he was cool was because he was like a gun for Vector Prime's arm. A really cool gun. You gave a shit about the robot. Get out of here. Fuck off. No one cares about that.
The only downside to that gun though is you have to buy it in a kit which comes with like extra. I think it comes with different wing panels and a different sword.
Oh, okay.
And they're all coming in for DNA kit anyway, so.
Well, I'm guessing that's like the baby basic bitch version of the DNA kit design, right? It's like, you don't want to get the expensive DNA kit? Well, you could get this one instead, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of like 4 or 5 of the kits that were announced way before DNA announced theirs.
Everybody looked at Vector Prime and went, fuck off. I'll do it better. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, fans. We've got you back, etc., etc. We have Mr. White in the chatto. Hello, Mr. White. Hope you're doing well today.
Hey, man.
Have you got your podcast sorted out? You close to getting another one?
We're still having ideas. I think Mr. White's still getting his audio issues sorted out.
Oh, okay.
But as soon as he does, I think we'll try and get something in a bag, because he's had a jolly good idea.
Oh. That's unusual. I can throw fists. We should probably get on to the podcast and start pooping, I would say, right?
I guess we should, yeah.
Yeah, because we've got, let's be fair, we've got quite a few to go through, as usual.
This is a decent chunk to get through today.
To be fair, I did try and spread them out evenly, so there was an equal number, but I guess we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'm going to play the music, and then we're going to start flatulating or pooping.
Cool, yeah.
All right, music time.
Welcome to Moonbase 2.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Moonbase 2 podcast. My name is Andy. I joined by David. Hello, David.
I'm not doing that accent because I don't want to be cancelled.
You don't have anything to be cancelled from.
Ouch.
Well,
you've got
one show. You could be cancelled from the Fluff and Hammer, but I don't think that would happen because that would require Gruff to cancel you more so than anybody else. Don't worry, but I've not got a huge audience, so it's not like I'm going to get cancelled, so that's okay.
Also true.
Yeah. Mr. White says in chat, because Mr. White's here. Hello, Mr. White. Mr. White says audio issues, fine, but sadly, recall might not be saved. Recall might not be saved. Yeah.
No.
Jump. You told Recall podcast wasn't. Oh no. Oh no.
and I didn't save a backup of my own.
Oh no. This is why
more than 2 weeks.
Oh no. Yeah, this is why having multiple backups is good, just in case something goes wrong. And things sometimes go wrong with podcasts. It's just how it is. But today we're not talking about the audio woes of Mr. White and Mr. Big D. We're going to be talking about Transformers Animated. The 2009 show, which is very close to 20 years old at this point. Yeah, we're 4 years off from Animated being 20 years old. That's
Hang on, I need to grab my soul and just pull it back in a second because I think I just took a critical hit.
Yeah, it makes you think. I have split up the figures. We're doing all of the figures are going to be 2008s. And then on the next time we do Animated, it will be the weird spread because they don't have an even spread. Most of the lines seem to come out in 2008. And then, 2009, they came out 2009. Then a couple came out 2008. A couple came out 2009, and then a couple came out 2010.
Yeah, Animated had a really weird release for figures.
Yeah, but it started off like, here's all of it, and then it's like, here's the rest of them. It's like, oh, okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think it's better than what like they've done with Earthspark, which is just, the show's cancelled. We're still going to give you toys, but very, very slowly.
Yes.
You know?
Or not even give us toys at all.
Yeah. Like Cyberverse and Earthspark, like if you're a fan of those shows, tough. You're not going to get many figures for those things. That's just how it is. Even if you love it. I don't love those things, but I would like you to be able to buy the characters that were in the show.
And both shows had key characters either missed or given really poor treatments of...
Yeah, here's the shitty super duper kids gimmick toy version.
Yeah.
Clobber?
And
is that her name is from Cyberverse? The one that was Lugna, but a girl?
Yeah. And she was a fun character, and her figure was kind of...
No, it was ass. It was an ass figure. It was a basic bitch child gimmick toy. And it's like could have done something.
And like the Cyberverse Dinobots, which spread across 5 different play patterns.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? How do I collect this team?
Thankfully, this was before that. This and Prime were before the bad times for the shows. So we've got we're starting off with deluxes as usual. Then we've got a couple of Voyagers, more Voyagers than I thought, to be honest, and then like 2 leaders, and then 2 leaders next. Barely any leaders in this show. You only got like 4 in total molds, separate molds, I'll state. And even then, the Optimus Prime that's classed here as a leader isn't a leader. It was the big gimmick one. You know the one that you push and it span and it was crap.
Yeah.
That's classed as a leader. At least TFU classed as a leader. So I thought I'll throw it in there. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, the other 3 leaders at least gave you bang for your buck because they were hefty. And actually, in fairness, across the whole Cyberverse, animated line, these figures all had heft to their price points.
Yes. So, especially for the time when the prices of these figures were probably like what deluxes were 12, I think, still at this point. If not, I think they were 12 at this point. 2009, there's probably that much. I can't remember how much Voyages might have been 25.
They might have been. It was in that period where prices they crept up a little bit, though, but they were still.
I think leaders were only 40 max, right?
Yeah.
Max.
That tracks.
At least in my brain. We're going to be starting off with the preview 2-pack, which was Cybertron Optimus Prime and Cybertron Megatron. This was sold as a 2-pack that also had a DVD, which was either the first 2 episodes or the first episode of the 3-parter, which was called...
The Battle Begins.
Oh, there you go. That's not what the episode was called. But
that's right.
I don't remember what the episode was. As far as I was aware, this was... I remember me and Dave specifically, and I think Phil and Chris were there as well, specifically went to a Toys R Us, and Dave ran to the toy aisle, ran as fast as he could to make sure he got his. I walked, Phil and Chris just walked as well. I was like, I want it, but I'm not going to fucking run. We were hoping there was going to be more of the toy line there, but it was just the 2-pack. I don't know why this was like a preview set, but it wasn't arguably too bad of a set, especially with some of the deluxes to come.
I mean, it was a nice kind of mission statement box.
It wasn't the Cybertronian Optimus Prime. It was that mold. This is my bad because I didn't check. It was Earth Optimus Prime, but he was slightly different colored. Sorry, I apologize because that was incorrecto. Yeah, there he is. The Battles Begins Optimus Prime. It's the same transformation scheme as the Cybertronian one.
Yeah.
Except it's Earth mode version. My bad. Sorry, Big D. And has quote unquote battle damage. While Megatron's battle damage is flesh color battle damage on him for some reason.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was weird. Sorry, Big D, you were saying.
No, I think my microphone just kind of had a bit of a volume thing go.
Fair enough. What did you think of this 2-pack? Have you played with these figures before? Have you had these two?
I hadn't played it. I must admit, this is one that I did look at a lot on the shelves and was torn by. I didn't end up get it in the end, but I was awfully tempted. It was a nice way of getting the 2 figures in reasonably decent looking modes, but at the time I just wasn't really animated. I knew it was coming, but I wasn't really feeling it at this point. So I wasn't really in too much of a rush to pick these up.
Yes, because design-wise, obviously, animated was vastly different from anything we'd seen before. Very maybe not misproportioned, but a very stylized design to them.
Very, very stylized. They went for very heroic proportions, much more than the franchise had really seen before.
Yeah, anyway, we were much more used to like boxy squares.
Yeah, I mean, even in Japan, the manga didn't really go as hard as this stuff did. It could get weird over there, but it didn't get it didn't have this consistent stylization to it, which was to its credit. I mean, Animated's general aesthetic was seriously unique and still is, to be fair.
Aesthetic, at least. The animation is shockingly bad when you go back and watch it these days.
Yeah, it has aged poorly. The stories aren't too bad.
Debatable. Season 1 is rough as fuck. There's like 3 episodes that's good in season 1, and the rest of it's trash.
I'll give you that. But later on, as things kick into gear, it has the confidence to carry on its own mythology, which it didn't necessarily do before. So
I do think it got better by season 3, but it's a man, that season 1 is rough. I remember begging for a good episode, and then Thrill of the Hunt came out. I was like, oh, thank God, this is good. Oh, finally. But in terms of the toy, the advantage of this Optimus Prime versus the Voyager, who we're going to look at later, is it doesn't have the stupid mouth gimmick of the battle mask untransforming, so you don't have any of that to worry about. In terms of just a transformation from the robot mode to the truck mode, like you said, Big D, it's fairly successful. There's a few little the issue with the Prime the animated line, I'm going to keep making that mistake, is when you get close into the figure, there's a lot of painting hiccups here and there.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
because of how they transform, you just can't always hide it. So they do get very inventive with how the transformations do cheat things and how they use some panel work to try and get away with things. But you just can't avoid it on occasion. But there will be discrepancies.
Yeah. So the Prime, I would say, is good. The Megatron, not so much. He was not very satisfying to transform because what's he turn into?
I mean, this is the problem that's affected Megatrons for this entire period. I mean, this was around the time of the first movie. This Megatron, movie Megatron, Prime Megatron, all the versions of Megatron in the movies until I'd probably say Dark of the Moon, probably the most successful Megatron they did.
You say that, and I would say that from all of those like weird space plane things, the animated one was the worst design. You got an idea of what, like in the 07 movie, he looked vaguely like a stupid future plane that doesn't work or make any kind of sense. Same for the Transformers Prime one. He's like a weird Batwing kind of thing. This was just kind of messy, and I didn't really know what I was looking at. The figure itself was quite thin, not desperately good to look at visually, especially compared to the leader that we were going to get.
Yeah.
But I think this was a bit of a rough start for Megatron.
Yeah. And I think that leader, because people knew that leader was coming, they knew what it should look like. And what
do you mean, sorry?
Well, if I remember rightly, we'd actually seen pictures of that, not the toy, but the actual design of Megatron.
Had we? I don't remember that. Well, I wasn't on as online at that point, to be fair. So not in the Transformers community.
I'd seen pictures of it around the time this had come out, so it wasn't.
See, I first started watching YouTube pretty much when animated started. So I was just like not in the community at all at that point. So okay, wow, I didn't know that.
What a weird reversal of situation, because normally it's the other way around for me with you guys.
Yeah, this was pre-internet Andy, technically, I suppose. Excelhead says, "Where's Legacy animated Megatron, Hasbro? Screw the show accurate size difference. Give me Megatron to go with Prime." I wouldn't be against it. I mean, I assume Excelhead, you mean the Earth mode, right? Because I think they'd maybe do better if they did the Marauder Megatron from animated, since it was never made. That would make people pretty happy, I think.
Remind me of the Marauder Megatron. What?
The Marauder Megatron was what was going to be in season 4. They showed prototype images of him, and he had like the Beast Machine's Megatron mask, the little great grill thing over his face.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what he looked like. I'd need to pull up images, but he was one of those figures that's in the Allspark Almanac where people were like, wow, why didn't we get that?
Yeah.
So I think that'd be nice to see, because we never got it, and people won't be disappointed because they try and do an animated figure but they don't get it quite right. Like if you do a figure they've never been done before, can't be angry with that. One would think.
No,
one would hope
that'd actually be real interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
And it then gives them scope, because I'm guessing, was that Megatron otherwise still fairly consistent with how Megs looked in the show otherwise?
I mean, it's still got a similar head design, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that gives them retool options right off the bat. They can do that one initially, and then later on, you've got the show, not accurate, the one that appeared in the series as an option. So
One thing I suppose it's worth mentioning as well here is obviously we had no ankle tilts at this point. We still didn't. They sculpted all the feet at an angle, so you could never get them really to stand square feet together kind of thing. They're always at the slight angle, so you meant to have them a little bit more spread.
They all had that A pose going on, didn't they?
Sometimes it was more severe on some figures than others, but, I think it kind of gave them a bit more of a unique look if you were just standing them on a shelf, which, not bad.
I always thought that.
Obviously, ankle tilts better. Much better.
Yes,
it gives you the option then. But for the time, it's like, this is okay. This ain't bad. In terms of retools, obviously the battle begins. Optimus Prime got done into the Cybertronian Optimus Prime, which is not too different. He has a really fucking shit axe. The reason it's so shit is because it has multiple joints in to try and hide it. Well, not hide it, but store it in a smooth way for the Cybertron truck mode, which doesn't really work. Also, the top of the cab mode comes off and is able to be used as a shield, which was quite nice. And then you had a very, the similar transformation, but completely retooled to make a Cybertronian truck, which I actually think is pretty good. I really like the Cybertronian truck.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a truck, but it looks far more Cybertronian than a lot of attempts. I mean, it's better than the Siege version.
Oh, yeah.
It ain't hard, but...
I'd say it's better than the War for Cybertron version, which was just the giant brick to slam through walls and stuff. This looks, to me, more like a truck, like an alien truck. It kind of looks like, you know how you have Lego sci-fi sets? Like Space and Space Police and M-Tron and Blacktron and stuff like that, and the Ice Planet. This looks like something that you could make in Lego. And it would be kind of spacey truck. It still looks like a truck, but it's spacey enough to be okay. The translucent plastic on the front as well is not bad translucent plastic because it's a really, really deep blue. So although it's translucent on the front and you can see stuff on the inside, it's so deep that it does obscure a little bit more of the stuff inside than when I usually complain about translucent plastic from Hasbro.
See, I only have one problem with this version of Prime.
Oh.
Every time I look at it, I keep thinking, it's a me, Mario.
Why? Why do you think that?
Because it looks like Super Mario, dude.
In robot mode or in vehicle mode? Okay, I thought you meant in vehicle mode.
Oh God, no. Vehicle mode's lovely, but robot mode's decent. I just can't help but think it's Mario.
I'm not sure which. Is it just the color scheme? Do you think?
I think it might just be the color scheme.
Is it because he's so blue on his chest, which is a little bit unusual for Prime?
Yeah, I think that's probably what's doing it.
Interesting.
I know it's just a weird thing, but every time I see him, I just think, oh.
I mean, I don't see that, but I can kind of get where you're coming from, just like connecting the blue and the red. I can see that. The nice thing about this version of Prime as well is if you had the battle damaged Optimus Prime, this one has the unmasked head, while that one had the masked head. Something I guess you could maybe complain about is the previous one is a much darker red, more maroony than this one, where this is closer to the real Optimus Prime bright red, pure red color.
What's darker tones overall? Because it's much darker blue, much darker red.
Yeah, not sure why they did that. I guess just to differentiate itself, I suppose. Battle damage is dirty.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
Out of the two, I think I prefer this one just because it's more unique.
I would go with that. Yeah,
but the other one's not bad.
Has its own talent.
The other one has the better axe. The other one has a much better axe because it's actually just an axe rather than man. This it looks like a spade. This one
at least can be hidden away.
It can.
The other one doesn't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's quite blatant about that, but it doesn't hide. It just goes.
I guess you ask yourself, do you want a weapon that can hide away better, but looks crap when it's out on the figure, or would you prefer a solid axe that looks shit trying to be stored on the vehicle?
Yes,
I think I'd prefer the more convincing weapon.
I would go with that as well. To be fair,
yeah. But like you said, it can compact and can hide on the vehicle, so it has its benefit.
But that's been the eternal back and forth from almost the entirety of the franchise.
Wow.
Do you want the accessories to look good, or do you want them to be able to hide? And getting the balance is not always easy.
No, it's better than what G1 was, which was, do you have accessories? Yes. Well, I hope you've got a bag for them. Don't lose them. It's better than that. XL Hedge says, better than War for Cybertron? Andy, no. Just no. I like it more than the War for Cybertron one myself.
I would say I like it better than the Fall of Cybertron vehicle mode, but not for War for Cybertron. War for Cybertron looks much more alien, as like a piece of industrial machinery, whereas this Cybertron Prime looks much more like an alien disguise.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Well, as I said, I like this because it gives me Lego sci-fi vibes. Yeah. It's also got a lot more blue on the front of it, and there's not that really hard. Well, no, I'd say it's a bit more of a harsh transition of color because do you remember how like the War for Cybertron one has that just like that panel that just kind of diagonally goes backwards and it's like a hard like color shift.
Yeah. I can understand that. This one feels a little more gradient in how it's broken up.
And, don't get me wrong, it's not that gradiated because it's still, the back is blue and the front is red, but like you said, Big D, it feels like it transitions a little bit smoother than the other one.
It gives you the illusion of it, so.
Yeah. I don't know, I prefer it. Yeah. Did the Megatron get a redo? I don't think he did. No, the mold was never reused again or retweaked, which is probably for the best because it was not very good. In all fairness, at least I didn't like it. So we got... Oh, it's not you next. Next up, we got Sad Man Ratchet. I never used to feel like a toy represented how I feel when I wake up in the morning more than Ratchet does now.
Yeah, bless him.
He's got like something that the animated line had. They had emotion usually on the face molds, and this one does as well.
You can look at that face and you can hear Jeffrey Combs berating you out of it.
It wasn't Jeffrey Combs.
Was it not?
No, he was Prime. He wasn't animated. I can't remember the guy that did him in animated.
Why did I think it was Combs in animated?
Because he was like in the next series in Prime.
Yeah, that might be just me getting my shows mixed up in that case.
They both had the sad, grumpy old man voice. So it makes sense to me. Good thing about Ratchet is they gave him a fat belly, because he's old. It's like that gave him a bit of a unique feature. He also had multiple accessories. He came with 4 arm tools. He came with a can opener or a bottle opener. He came with a hammer, which was very well, at least it reminded me of Red Alert from Armada. Red Alert, Red Alert's hammer. He also came with a spanner. And I don't know what arm tool 1 is meant to be. A screw. Oh, it's a screwdriver, isn't it? It's a Phillips head screw. Yeah. No, a flathead screwdriver. Should have been a Phillips head one because it'd be more useful. All these weapons could be stored on Ratchet's back. Well, the top of his ambulance mode, there was a little bit of a gap where you could shove all the tools. So in robot mode, there's just kind of a big hole in his back where you shove these things, which is maybe a bit of an issue. Ratchet also could flip out 2... what were these things in the show? Big D,
they were magnets, electromagnets.
Yeah, he could flip out these 2 things are on little springs underneath his forearms. They'd flip out. Also made him have posable fingers to a point. He had a thumb that could swivel on a pin joint, and then his 4 fingers were on a big pin joint as well. Very much like... Actually, technically, he has more... hand articulation than Vector Prime from the Legacy line.
Yeah.
Okay, because of the thumb joint. It's not an amazing thumb joint, but it's there.
Well, I just did a check, and it was Corey Burton voiced Ratchet in animated.
That makes sense, because Corey Burton was loads in that show. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The Ratchet does have a lot of side wing on his shoulders, which is a bit of a bummer. He was a fairly okay figure. I think his vehicle mode was really good. It does have a big, obvious seam in it from where the paint is for the red of the vehicle mode and where it's unpainted. It feels like these have a lot of paint on them, more so than more modern Transformers.
Do. Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's just because of, like you said earlier, the way that these things had to transform it's very much you kind of just throw up your hands and go, fuck, what do you do? What the fuck do you do? Mold it in one plastic and then just paint? Yeah, fuck it, we'll just do that, whatever. So it does mean that seams are a little bit more obvious. The red on the top of his vehicle mode is more of a maroon compared to the red paint, which stands out a little bit. But he's got sculpted front seats for the ambulance as well, which is quite nice. Overall, he's a decentish little toy. I do know that he doesn't seem to have the heroic A pose sculpted into his feet for this one, which is kind of interesting to note.
Yeah,
he's flat-footed.
But then it wasn't really a pose that he did a lot in the show either.
No,
it kind of leaned into the idea that he's the.
Because it might have been, I suppose.
It might have been. I mean, you have the space there to have given him that pose. I mean, because his legs are on, they got the joints to go outwards, and it wouldn't have been that much of a difference from the flat feet to angle them slightly to give him that A pose. So
you wouldn't have thought so. And maybe it was deliberate.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I would say Ratchet wasn't one of the bad ones from the early ones, Prime. I'd say that the Deluxe Megatron that was a bad one. Ratchet was pretty okay from what I remember, apart from just like hiccups. He doesn't feel like when we'll get to him, but Starscream suffers. He's a really bad figure, unfortunately. He's a shockingly bad figure. Excel Hedge says, "Cause you have a bulkhead, I needed that stuck in your head." Oh, that's why apparently you're thinking of Jeffrey Combs, Big D. That makes sense. And Excel Hedge says, "Don't forget Ratchet can steal back Lockdown's engine." Yes, that's true. On his left forearm, there is a slot where what was it called? What was Lockdown's gun called? Didn't have a fancy name. It was a paralyzing gun.
Oh, it did. And the EMP blaster.
That's right. Yeah, you could shove the EMP blaster onto his forearm, which is neat. It's a nice call to the show. I remember getting the toy and being like, "What the fuck is this for?" Because the episode hadn't aired at that point. I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah.
So it's neat. A little bit of stuff for the future. Will be very confusing for anyone that picks up the figure. Like, why does he have a gouge in his hand? Or arm, I should say. But I like Ratchet. He got another redo, the animated Rescue Ratchet, where I had this one. I can't remember why I had this one, where they made him yellow, with big sad black eyeliner emo eyes. I don't know why. Are ambulances yellow in other countries?
Well, they did that repaint of the movie version into the same color scheme. And I think it was because in the States, some regions do paint their ambulances in yellow,
but not all of them.
Yeah, I think it's because in the States they're not they don't have an ambulance service like we in most other countries do. They're all private firms, effectively.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of whatever the district or state dictates, they apply in whichever way they can. If you're in the States and listening to this, please correct me because I'm just working off some basic assumptions here.
Yeah, Excel might say you're wrong unless he's Canadian, and then he might still say you're wrong. I don't know. But yeah,
no, he's Canadian. He's Canadian. They have a functioning health service like the rest of the world.
Well, I mean, they do try and get you to kill yourself, but so I'm not really sure functioning is how I'd phrase it.
All right, more functional than the entity down below them.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of healthcare have a lot of issues. Unfortunately, that's the way the world works. Yeah. But we have Yellow Ratchet. I'm not sure. I love. Do you love Yellow Ratchet?
Not especially, but it's an interesting take. I mean, somehow it actually looks in vehicle mode. Although there's less paint for white, looks more consistent, even though you do have gaps. That might just be on this one how some of it's worn away at the edges. But you don't have that difference in shade between the roof panels that you did on the other one. As Teller, you do, but it's nowhere near as noticeable just because of how white works.
I can kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, as an alternate. I mean, a lot of these repaints are just a way to get reuse out of the mold. If you miss out on the first version, it's a way to get it, and it doesn't look bad.
Do you want the yellow one? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
Mom and Dad.
okay.
I've got Ratchet. The Ratchet at home. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's. I do prefer the base version to this one. To be fair.
Yeah, I do as well. If you wondered, this came as an exclusive at the Target stores with the animated Legends Prowl. So if you wanted tiny little robot bike man, and you wanted a tiny little Legends Starscream, that's what this 3-pack was for some bizarre reason. I'd argue that the Starscream might be better than the Voyager one. In all honesty, but again, we'll get to that. But that was the only repaint of this figure, just yellow Ratchet, a weird one, and at least it wasn't green, so it wasn't a reference to the movie, I guess. So that's something, I suppose. Anything you want to say about young Ratchet? Well, not young Ratchet, old man Ratchet, old man Ratchet.
No, just it was a lovely version. It was the fact that this was our first Ratchet in G1 colors, effectively ever. That had a decent robot mode.
Okay,
I think this came before the Generations Ratchet, or is around the same.
It might have been similar.
It might have been around the same sort of time, but it just stuck the landing better than the other one did. So. Yeah, I dug it. Never picked it up myself, but I liked the fact that it was out there, and the fact that it did make him such an aggressively old, grumpy man.
Relatable.
What can I say?
Okay. Next up, we have Bumblebee, who is fucking huge in comparison to the rest of them. That's something that's worth mentioning about the animated line as well. Size and scale, it was not a thing. It wasn't something that they were concerned with. They went, here is your figure. We're going to make sure that you get your money's worth in terms of like size of the plastic, which I suppose is better in some ways.
Yeah. But to them, scale happened to other toy lines.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say Bumblebee was super good. Hang on. Exelhead says, yes, American ambulances are privatized and crippling debt expenses and can be different colors depending on the companies. Oh, there you go. No Ironhide repaint. No, the Ironhide repaint comes later for the Cybertronian version of Ratchet, which we're going to be talking about next time. Because that was a 2009 or 2010 figure. But Bumblebee, he has open hands. He has little flip-out stingers, which can combine together to make his stinger, which it's little awkward.
Yeah.
A little fiddly, but it worked. He also came with
points for effort. So.
Yeah, it was an attempt. He also came with like his little rockets, which were cute. You could store them on his vehicle mode or just plop them on his back. I remember this guy. Clearly he has weird feet. He has a lot of the car mode on the back of his legs, which is a little bit on the awkward side. Nice head design. Obviously cheats with his chest. And is just a little awkward in the posing as he has like hinge joints for... Right, so his shoulders are on pegs that come out from his shoulders and then are on ball joints on them. So you got these black pipes that come out from the side of his, from the top of his shoulders, then go into ball joints. That's fine, a little awkward, but fair enough. And then for the bicep joint, they didn't use the ball joint as like how you would rotate the arm around. He's got this lower black hinge.
Yeah.
I think that's for folding up for the vehicle mode, but it does technically work, I guess, as an extra bicep joint, as he does have right before the forearm another joint. So he does have double bicep joint, but it's I don't think it's a desperately good one, just because like the shoulders clatter into the door wings on the side of his arms. It's a little bit faffy.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
No, I preferred the Activators version of Bumblebee.
I did hear that from a lot of folks that the Activators was the superior version if you wanted a Bumblebee in this line.
Sort of. It has its own issues. I mean, if you go down onto the additional versions of Bumblebee, he's the second one. I think he's got a nicer face sculpt. I think the proportions are better, but the arms are hilariously long. He's got like monkey long arms. Which don't look quite right. And he's got quite a big fat chest. Just because like he not being an activator, he doesn't do a huge amount of transformation either. Yeah. But I do think his vehicle mode looks a little bit cleaner. The back of it's not as nice. But it was quite nice that you pushed the little the red nipple, which was meant to be an alarm, the siren. You pushed the nipple, and he did all the transforming for you. All you really had to do was unclip the feet at the bottom to straighten them out. It was nice, and it got redone into the only version of Cliff Jumper that they did as well. So if you wanted Cliff Jumper, you had to get this version. I think it was a Japanese exclusive, but it had a remolded head, so it looked like Cliff Jumper as well.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this figure is probably our first example of highlighting how difficult translating the animated aesthetic to an action figure can be.
Yeah, I mean, even by today's standards, I don't know which came first, whether it was Rescue Bot's Chase or if it was Legacy animated Bumblebee, but I think it was meant to be Chase first, and then Bumblebee kind of adopted his form. That's how I assume it was meant to go. Because it doesn't look like... The Legacy one doesn't look super like Bumblebee. It's close enough, and I'm going to probably get the Wasp version when it goes on sale. Because we haven't had a Wasp before. So
I mean, hang on.
Nope.
When you say Chase, do you mean Legacy Chase?
Yeah, the Legacy Chase figure from Rescue Bots.
Yeah,
because I think he was the original version of that mold, and then they made him into Bumblebee rather than him being the primary. Kind of like with Heatwave and Bulkhead. Clearly, Bulkhead was not the original version of the mold. It was clearly always meant to be Heatwave first.
I get what you're aiming for. Unfortunately, it falls down on how that Heatwave is about half as big as Bumblebee, because B is tiny. He's a really small figure. Chase is a decent sized deluxe. Bumblebee.
Yeah, but Bumblebee's the same mold, right? He's the same mold as Chase. No, he is.
I mean, there's probably some of the same engineering going on, but
what?
I mean, I've got them side by side. Chase stands about half again as tall as Bumblebee.
Okay.
So they probably reused the engineering, or they took that as inspiration, but they're not mold mates. Put it that way.
I was sure they would just direct. Well, one had a different head. I'm gonna have to find an image because I'm sure that's how it is.
Let me take a picture and I'll ping one across to you.
All right. Legacy, Chase. Oops, that's not how you do it. Chase and Bumble.
Stand by, folks, for this riveting information.
You gotta wait. You gotta get the good stuff, baby.
Yeah.
Watch there be miscommunication and it not be exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, it looks like I'm looking at the Bumblebee, and it looks like the Bumblebee has a different waist. Oops, that's the wrong one.
Here you go. I've sent you a picture of it side by side on my desk.
Yeah, okay, let's put it up on stream. Yeah, he's definitely got a different waist. The chest looks very similar.
Oh yeah, there's clearly
very similar.
It's the same sort of engineering, but
yeah,
the scale difference is.
Yeah, I see. I would class this as they're the same figure, just with tweaks to them, because the transformation's probably very similar. It looks like the legs are probably the waist downwards is probably the most different about it.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Because this is not like this is why I look at them and go, it was made to be Chase, and then it was tweaked to be Bumblebee, because it doesn't look like animated Bumblebee to me. Primarily, looks like compromises were made to make it Bumblebee.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Mm-hmm. Where's the stuff? No, that's that. But this Bumblebee, the animated one. Hang on.
Yes. Yeah.
Exelhead says Chase was made into Prime Cliff Jumper. Legacy B is a completely separate mold. Is it that way around? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, like Big D said, they share a lot of similarities, though. I'm pretty sure. But yes, B. Any other thoughts on this B?
Not really. Bit of a disappointment, like you say. Probably. Would you say it's weaker than Megatron so far, or
weaker than the Megatron? Ooh. Yes, and it's probably because of how big he is. Because in the show, he was notably the smallest of the wave.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And at least with a 2-pack, like a versus 2-pack, it makes sense why they're kind of compromised. Because, like you said, you could probably assume that there's going to be a bigger version of Megatron and a bigger version of Prime coming. I mean, you're going to get a smaller version of Bumblebee? We did later, but we didn't think we were, I assume. So I'd say, in some ways worse. This guy was redone into Elite Guard Bumblebee, which never appeared in the show, as far as I'm aware.
Nope.
He's a kind of more interesting color scheme. I'll throw out there. I like the vehicle mode, how it's got the black top and then the kind of antique gold bottom. I think the Elite Guard symbol maybe should have been a different color, as it's like silver. I think like I don't know, a highlight color around the edges would have made it pop a bit more. And it is weird to see the siren on top just painted black. Like it's not meant to be there. Like you're meant to assume that it's not there, but they just couldn't remove it from the mold. I don't know how I feel about the robot modes, Payne. What do you think about it?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I like it, but it doesn't really scream B to me. I mean, it's funny that was this the first time they used this amount of black on a B figure? Because after this, we got quite a few. It became kind of like his default alternate.
That's a good question. It was either this or it would have been the movie line, one of the movie lines. I'm not confident
I know they
say which.
Because they did I think it was Dark of the Moon had the black color scheme.
Yeah, they did. I can't remember if Revenge did.
And then Prime gave B that color scheme for the third season in its entirety. But I think this was the first time it got used on a B figure in any way. And then Shattered Glass used it for their take on Goldbug.
Could be right, yeah.
But, it's an interesting look for him because it basically inverts all his colors. And that's a dash of gold. And it does give him a bit more of an edge, but it just... I don't know, man. It just... I think because the figure itself is so weak, it does it a disservice.
Okay, I could see that. I'm not going to fight you on it because I think it's fine for a repaint. It's at least interesting.
Absolutely, and it does have some nice colors on there. I mean, the gold is actually quite nicely applied to a lot of the figure.
Yeah, and it's not plastic as well, so that's a benefit in its own sense, I suppose. As well, you don't need to worry about it exploding.
Yeah, like you said, it's got that nice antique gold finish to it. So which is.
I think people would have obviously preferred Wasp or Cliff Jumper or something. But definitely. This is what you got, and they had to reuse the mold. We also have Prowl, who was one of the first early boys, who does have a mouth, though you can barely see it because it's so far up his face.
Because he's all chin.
He is nothing but chin, Yeah.
Which is, again, accurate to the character.
Yes. The sirens on the back of his arms were meant to kind of sort of fold out and be battens, but they were very small. Didn't really work because they didn't come further out than the hand, which is amusing. He does have posable thumb and fingers like Ratchet did. Oddly enough, he doesn't have an A-shaped pose put into his feet either, but he does have small ball joints in his feet. This figure was quite
he was
posable,
much more of a poser, wasn't he?
A lot more, yeah. He was also really thin, which helped because he was a bike. He's one of the best bike formers, I think. Because he's so clean.
Absolutely.
Very, very clean. He's cleaner than most RC figures. Accessories, he came with 2 shurikens, which are just quoted as discs here, which had a nice little gimmick where as you fold the things in, it automatically did the other two. So you just pushed it in and it automorphed the other ones in. Also came with a street crossing sign light on a string.
I forgot he came with that. That's so weird.
Yeah, I don't. He could have used it in the show, but if I'm honest, I don't remember him using it.
Yeah,
he could have, but did he? Maybe I don't remember. It was a bit. Maybe the idea was it's to make up for the fact that you were getting less plastic. Maybe. I don't really know why it happened, but really big sign for some reason. All right, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, it's a nice figure though. I mean, like you say, very posable, very live.
Yeah,
very very clean in both modes, which is so rare for a bike former. Full stop.
You normally get one or the other as well. Do normal bikes at the moment have kickstands? Would you say? I can't really remember.
In real life or as toys?
As toys, not in real life. I hope they come with them in real life.
It can depend. Some cheat where they have an accessory that has a peg that stands in. There's a few that do. I know that Retgar's Generations figure had a kickstand. I
can't remember the modern ones like the Prime RC figure. Did she have a kickstand?
I don't have any bike formers in front of me.
Jump.
No. I don't know where I put them all. I have a road pig, but he's not the right sort of bike. He cheats.
He does cheat.
I want to say they do in some form or other, because you can stand most modern transformable bikes will stand upright.
Yeah. Bike. It's just I don't think they have dedicated feet stands.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily have a folding stand, which is one of the things it sometimes appears, but not often anymore.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but like I say, I wasn't 100% sure. I was not sure I was. But it's nice the fact that this one does, because extra part is never really a bad thing, I'd say. And it's just an overall good-looking bike that's very posable. We're not talking about Samurai Prowl because that's next week's show, because that was 2009. Apparently, this mold was never recolored, which I'm, to be honest, pretty surprised about. I thought it was.
So was I. Yeah, I was surprised to see that, because you'd have thought this would have. I mean, I'm kind of surprised it didn't at least get a version in G. They didn't at least attempt to give him G1 colors.
I think the idea maybe was to do the Elite Guard version, because wasn't there like a white version of Prowl?
Yeah.
I think they. I want to say I remember there was like wasn't there a Japanese version where he was like white and like in proper squad colors? Or am I misremembering?
It might have been, but I can't remember, I'm afraid.
That to me sounds familiar, but I'm insane, so what do I know? Too many blows to the head, as they say. Exel Hedge says, poor Signal Lance being whipped around by Prowl. Well, he should have got a real figure. If he was a real toy, he would be treated with more respect.
Yeah.
Did that Signal Lance third-party figure ever come out, I wonder? He must have. That's a figure they need to do for Legacy. That would be neat. Signal Lance. Age of the Prime, Signal Lance. Do it, cowards. Don't be a puss. That's what I say to that. Prowl, pretty good. Really good at posing. I think that was his most standout feature, was how posable he was. Because he was super, super crazy, super all over the place, which was like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that about him. I don't have too much to say, to be honest. We have Lockdown next. Lockdown's a weird toy. Because Lockdown looked like he was really tall. That was one of the good things about him. So one good thing, Lockdown, very tall boy, very, very tall. One of the tallest not Voyagers, one of the tallest deluxe figures of the wave.
Absolutely.
Easily taller than, he's taller than Lugnut, who was a Voyager, which is hilarious. The problem with him was, at least from my perspective, he felt like a figure who was ran over by a car. He feels very flat.
Yes, yeah.
And for Lockdown, who has kind of a C shape to him, because he's quite curved and he's meant to be a little bit hunched over, I don't think that looked really worked for him, at least in the toy form.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because there's a lot to like about this figure. I mean, the vehicle mode is pretty fab, to be honest. And robot mode has so many of his features, like that distinctive head, the hook hand, the gun. It is tall, but it's all because it's deluxe. They've had to compromise by making him really, like you say, he's flat,
very flat,
and it's a shame because he loses a lot of what makes him such a menacing character from the show.
He also loses his asymmetry as well, because that was something about his design in the show. He was very asymmetrical, and they try and do it a little bit, at least in the legs, because he's got this. The knee pads are a little bit different. One's red and has more quote unquote exposed stuff, and then the other one's green and isn't exposed. It doesn't really work. I think the biceps are a little different as well. They tried, but it didn't pan out. Unfortunately, his knees are just crap. Because when you bend the knees, he gets it doesn't bend where you think the knee would be. It bends behind the knee. Because the leg, the front of the legs are almost like a cover that goes over the top. So when you bend the knee, he's got like a big gap in between his leg. Between the knee and the rest of the leg, which is a bit weird. His arms are incredibly spindly. His like elbow bend is a pin for the actual joint, and then that pin goes into a ball joint, which then that ball joint then goes into the forearm, which is very bizarre.
Those arms do not look like they'll. If anyone here listening has a lockdown today, please tell us how it's endured, because those joints look terrifying.
I do, but I haven't taken them out of the case for a while. He also, and this, I remember this was an issue. Do you remember this problem, Big D? You could never straighten his hands out in robot mode.
Yeah, I never remember the figure, but I do remember thinking that was an oddity when I saw it on the shelves. It was like, why are his hands not straight?
Yes, he's got Mr. Burns hands, where he just kind of drips them down. It was purely because on the inside of the forearm, it was either the inside of the forearm or the hand itself. You can, on this image, Big D, you can see his hand on the right-hand side. There's a gray tab right at the back. It's either that part or there's a black tab on the inside of the forearm that stops you from locking them into place.
That's really annoying, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where people are like, I can fix it. It's like, you have to get like a saw in there and cut bits off and stuff, which is...
And especially as the hand is pinned.
Yeah.
So you've got to take the pin out first to get anywhere.
Yeah, if it's the hand, if it's the inside of the... Well, yeah, even if it's the inside of the forearm, you still have to unpin the hand. It's a bit of a faff. It's not great. He does have the engine pulse thing that you mentioned earlier. And they do attempt to do his hook hand as a big just like cover over his normal hand, which doesn't really pan out. I will say I really do like his vehicle mode though. The vehicle mode's really good. Looks cool, menacing.
Yeah.
Not nearly enough paint apps on this one, oddly enough, because he's meant to have those green stripes going all the way back up to the back of his spoiler, but he doesn't.
Very true.
Unfortunately. So unlike some of the other figures we talked about, this one feels underpainted. I think this was one of those figures where the toy hacks helped a lot, because I'm sure he had toy hacks.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. And it's a shame it's not more paint, because that green that we do get is luscious.
Yeah, there's two shades of green. There's like an army green on his boob, and then it's goblin green, right? That's goblin green.
Goblin green, lime green, key lime. Take your pick, but it's lovely.
Yeah, it's nice. It's just, and it's a really nice shaped car. It's really interesting because it's a muscle car with spikes on. It's just not. Repaint.
It's got all the pieces. It's just not. It doesn't click.
No,
which is a shame.
I do think the repaint into what's it called? Blazing Lockdown is quite nice. However, it does carry across the unpaintedness of the vehicle mode. The vehicle mode again is unpainted. It's got gold paint on it, and the gold is done into like fire effects. But then you look at that vehicle mode and you're like, you needed the rest of the flame effects on that vehicle mode.
Yeah.
In robot mode, it's really pretty. I think it's got flame effects on his forearms, and then he's got all this nice gold kind of paint on him and gold face and the extra lines and whatnot. I like it. And his hook has been chained to a chainsaw as well, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice paint job. It's unfortunate that it's still got most of the flaws of the first version.
Yeah. Well, you can't help the mold, I suppose, can you?
But it is a lovely figure to look at.
Yeah. It also got one other time, which was into BotCon Wild Rider. I have the BotCon set, so I can talk about all these figures. It had a really good new head sculpt for Wild Rider. They nailed the colors on him. The car mode is painted appropriately. You know, it doesn't have excess paint on it, so it looks probably the best vehicle mode out of them. And it's using the Blazing Lockdown chainsaw as well. Just to make it not a hook. It still has all of the issues that the other mold does, but I really like the face sculpt on it. I like the face sculpt on all of the redos for this.
Those Stunticons had some gorgeous head sculpts.
Yeah.
They just nailed the character of all 5 of them somehow.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure Derek helped BotCon design them. I'm pretty sure he did at least. So that's why they'll all look good.
I mean, he was
unofficially
he was one of the uberest of Uber fans. So I can't imagine him not being involved in some way.
I'm pretty sure someone said, "You want to help design these?" And he said, "Yeah, but I can't do it officially." And they went, "Yeah, all right, whatever." I don't care.
And by the way, here's some I came up with earlier.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? So my personal preference is, I think Wild Rider looks the best because he doesn't have like an iconic shape. He's not meant to be a C shape in terms of his body, and I don't think his face looks as flat. So I think this works better because you don't have you don't already have ideas of what Lockdown should look like here.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that a figure that was our first attempt to what's become a fairly common character now. He's shown up in a lot of other versions of the franchise.
Are they not that many toys, though?
No, not. I mean, there's been, 3 in total? And the first one, in this case, it worked better as a different character altogether. That's right. Kind of a shame. It's a real shame, because, I mean, in the show, he was a brilliant... I mean, Lance Henriksen did the voice, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did indeed.
Yeah. And he was properly a decent, scary antagonist character. Yeah,
it was interesting. It was the first time we ever heard of like a non-affiliated villain who was like, I don't work for the Decepticons, but if they hire me, I'll do the job. It's like, that's neat. That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, he was riffing heavily off of Death's Head.
Oh, yeah. Even the face design's kind of Death's Head-ish, right?
Yeah. But otherwise, no. Great character. Sadly, a not great figure.
I didn't mention, but there is one other redo, which is Stealth Lockdown, where they put him into translucent plastic.
Or Explodium.
Yeah, that's a great term. I like that, Explodium. I never got this version of the figure because I was like, okay, why would I want this? But it's there if you were desperate. Excel Head says, my animated Lockdown is solid. That's right, they did do him for the movie. My movie IDW Lockdown ball joints keep popping up. Yes. Yes, that was an issue. That was Revenge of the Fallen Lockdown and AXA, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
very fun figures. I like them. Especially visually. But one arm, the normal arm, just did not want to stay. It never fucking wanted to stay in its slot. It's like, oh my god, bruh, just stop fighting me. This is what I say to my dick when I put the chloroform over the face. The Stealth Lockdown. Also, I think he came with animated Legends Bumblebee. Or a animated Legends Bumblebee.
Okay.
Not the activators, but the Legends one, and a Legends Optimus Prime as well. This is how you got your Legends figures. So that was Lockdown. One of the bigger disappointments, I would say, of the line. Probably because I liked the character and I wanted him to be better. I wanted so much from Lockdown. From Cockdown.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Yeah.
Next up, we have Sentinel Prime, Mr. Chin, the Tico, El Tiki, your boy.
Yes. US agent in Transformers form.
Yeah. He was an interesting one. He was a snowplow. He was Mr. Plow. If we had a crossover, we could have had a Simpsons Mr. Plow crossover, and this would have worked. Mr. Plow, that name again, it's Mr. Plow. What was that, season 2 of Simpsons? Season 3? It was early.
Yeah, it was when it was still great.
Yeah.
As opposed to so so definitely pre-season 10. Possibly pre-season 5.
Yeah, I'm thinking one at I don't think one. I think one's a tad
It wasn't
early.
one. I don't think it was 2 because 2.
It must have been 3 then. If it's not 2, it has to have been 3 because it was super early. Super early.
Hang on. Season 4, episode 9.
Oh shit! That's later than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I would have seen that episode on TV originally. I was probably 40 when it came out. How it feels these days.
It was a good one.
What did you think of young Sentinel Prime? Because I think one of my issues were how his shoulders transform and connect together. I don't remember that being the most solid of connections.
No, it didn't ever really look particularly fun. And he didn't look like he had a lot of going on. He had nice, big, chunky arms, but there wasn't really a lot. Was there a lot going on articulation-wise? Because I don't remember him being particularly exciting. And then he has...
I mean, what do you mean exciting? I suppose for a deluxe figure, what do you mean by exciting? I think it was doable. I think the problem was when you wanted to move the arms forward, you obviously had to slightly untransform the snowplow bits, because they didn't move along with the wheels. You can see they're on a joint connected right next to the neck. So if you wanted to lift the arms up, those would have to kind of untransform and go along with the arm. I wouldn't say he was super limited though, arm wise. He was as much as any of the figures were of this era, you know. Very tiny baby waist though. Very tiny.
I was thinking that he's compensating in other areas, shall we?
I'd say he doesn't look heroic. He looks a bit more. I'm your dad who's been down the pub for about 20 years.
Which is kind of on brand for Sentinel, let's be honest.
No, he wasn't fat. He wasn't a fat boy. He was an egotist. I don't think he would allow himself to be fat.
Oh, I just meant that he was an a-hole.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, he wasn't. This is not Ben Stiller at the end of Dodgeball. You have seen Dodgeball.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
It's more like pre that. I could see Sentinel Prime being that guy from Dodgeball.
Yes, yeah.
I can't remember his name, but I love Dodgeball. It's such a stupid movie.
It really is.
I love it.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Dodgeball? Go and watch Dodgeball. It's a lot of fun.
It really is.
Got to dip, dive, duck, dodge, and dodge or dive. The 5 Ds.
You can dodge a wrench. You can dodge a ball.
Touché. I don't know why. I just like Ben Stiller going touché when he hasn't even said anything. Good film. Yeah. Sentinel Prime, though. Good head sculpt as well. It was nice that you got his Energon shield and lance.
Yeah.
It's a little strange. I thought it was always a little strange that the shield wasn't translucent. Almost a missed opportunity, because if there was anything to be translucent, Sentinel Prime shield probably should have been a thing that was translucent, since it was an energy shield in the show.
Now, is that just paint in the middle of the shield and on the hilt of the lance, or is that actually some translucent wave?
No, that's paint. That's paint. I'm pretty sure it's like the lance, and it's all in grey plastic, and the baby blues paint, and then the the dark blue is also paint for some reason. I think if they just made translucent plastic, it would have strangely as a like mortal enemy mostly of translucent plastic, I think it would have looked better if it was. So
it's one of those cases where it probably would have benefited the look overall.
Yeah. I will say I think that the vehicle mode is a really strong vehicle mode. It's accurate. It's
definitely
fun.
Yeah.
It's got night highlights of the orange. I'd say maybe the orange paint on the door frame could have had a few more coats on.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the yellow on Legacy Cybertron Hotshot, where you look at it and you're like, you needed more goes over.
Yeah, it's the eternal challenge of getting oranges and yellows onto blue. Basically.
Yeah, especially blue.
Yeah.
The anti-color. Oh, ultramarines, you and your silly yellow and blue color scheme. A super high-dense pigment and then a super light pigment color.
And that, children, is why you use metallics instead of over the blue, instead of trying to paint yellow and red normally.
Or you just paint Blood Angels like a real man.
I mean, I'm a space wolf, so I can't really comment.
I mean, yeah, you've got your own problems.
Hey,
to be fair, it's baby blue over it's yellow over baby blue, so it's not as bad.
I have cans of Wolf Grey, but just make it so simple, and then I apply a wash of.
That's always the question. Easier. What color are your space wolves? Because there's like 5 different versions of how you can paint them. You can paint them blue. You can paint them grey. You can paint them anywhere between those 2 colors.
Oh, I do them in Wolf Grey as they're supposed to be.
You don't do them in very, 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 very light blue.
No, I do them in Wolf Grey. And thankfully, when I was started to get back into my wolves, that's when GW did the base color range, so it made it so much easier to paint reds and yellows over the top of it.
True. No redos or recolors of Sentinel Prime at all. He was a single-use boy. Who wasn't a single-use boy was Soundwave, who has some weird proportions, but I'd say he's a very fun Transformer.
Oh, yeah. Soundwave he was one of the... I'll be honest, I didn't buy many of the animated range, at least initially. Soundwave was one of the ones that I went out and bought as soon as I actually actively sought him out on the shelves.
Yeah, he was a good one. He's got a little bit of strange proportions, though. Like his thighs.
They kind of worked for me because it kind of... The look kind of just worked. It was so daft. I loved it.
Yeah, I think this was the first where this feels like one of the more earlier Soundwaves that weren't boomboxes or cassette players or anything like that.
Yeah.
But still had the motif going on. This was the first, like, I'm a SUV Soundwave.
Yeah, I mean, prior to this, the previous Soundwave had been Cybertron or the reissue of the G1 toy.
Oh, no. It would have been... what about Beast Wars? Because he was in Beast Wars.
That's a good point. Yeah,
he was that weird like line where the animal transformed into an animal.
I'd forgotten that because they were so bizarre.
Yeah, and I don't think we covered them because they're like what?
Yeah,
but they're basically Animorphs.
But this was great just because it was a Soundwave that transformed and looked like Soundwave, but in a really different way.
Yeah, they had all the key components of Soundwave. Again, though, for some reason, Bicep Joint is really weird. It is, once again, a ball bar that goes into a ball joint slot. It's not maybe an issue, but one of the weird things about it is that joint can spin. So unless you've got it spun the right way, like in this image, you can see that one arm is spun correctly, the other isn't. So one arm will have more articulation than the other. You can just spin it, but it is weird.
It can get a tad frustrating, I will admit.
Yeah, it's just fiddly for no reason. Something that's worth noting as well, if you hadn't noticed, or if people hadn't noticed, a lot of the animated figures have either pins in their fingers and whatnot, or just open hands. It's not like obviously now, and what was usually the case. was the fact that most hands were closed fists with a hole in them. For some reason, in animated, they just went with a bit more of a weird design for them. I'm not again sure why.
I think it's because there wasn't really a lot of handguns used in animated.
No, there's a lot of melee weapons more so than anything else.
Yeah, and they tended to find interesting ways to let the figures hold on to them. So, like Soundwave, I think Soundwave had some post in his hand that you could plug Laserbeak into.
No, it's his forearms. You can see on the image. It's his forearms. We'll get to it, but it does look interesting enough, and it does work. If I remember, I'm pretty sure they said that they wanted Decepticons to have guns and they wanted Autobots to have melee weapons, which I think is true throughout the show, to be honest.
Yeah, because the cons were designed as soldiers. They were all supposed to be bigger and more powerful. The Autobots were civilians.
Yeah.
So they weren't designed for combat. Yes. So,
and as you mentioned,
this
does come with animated Laserbeak, which they have as a separate entry here for some reason. He does turn into Big Flat Bird, but Big Flat Bird looks okay. Could have done with more paint. Definitely needs some paint for his eyes because he is just black plastic with the red for the guitar mode, because he does turn into a electric guitar. Or an axe, if you would. It's super stylized. I think it looks really good. And they don't have a picture of it in Soundwave's hand for some reason.
I know, it's a shame because you can actually pose him in some really nice poses where he's going full on shred. It's great.
Yeah. And because I think it helps that the hands are open, it doesn't 100% give the idea that he's playing it, but it's good enough that you go, okay. It's close. It's close enough.
It's better than you would expect.
For 2009, it's definitely better than it has any rights to be, I think, for the ability to hold a guitar and make it look like he's actually using it. He can't really wield it as like an actual axe, just because the pegs for it are on the bottom. So you can really only have him hold it as a guitar rather than anything else.
Yeah, that's a tad unfortunate, but hey ho.
It's the way it is. The only other peg I think is like in the middle section, which is how it pegs onto the top of his car mode. But I'd say for the most part, this is a really fun figure. It does have some proportional issues. Like I say, his thighs are absolutely minute. He has never done a leg day in his life. And his shoulders are quite far outwards. But generally has a pretty fun, interesting transformation. I can't remember... Does his chest drag along the ground? Because you fold it downwards, and I can't remember how close it lands to the actual floor.
It's pretty tight. I don't think it's scraped, but it is enough to give you a few heebie-jeebies, because it's quite because of how the body of the van, the side panels rest so low as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can never really see very well. It's like, is that all right? Have I done it properly? And it does get a bit.
I thought so. Yeah, I remember it being pretty tight. It's still good, but it is tight. XL Hedge says, bring back the guitar, in quotations, cassette minions. I think that would be neat. I think it would be neat if Rumble and Frenzy turned into drum kits because of their name. I think that would work quite nicely.
I mean, one of the things I think that Earthspark did quite well is its interpretation of the tape cons. As one, they gave all of them voices.
Yes.
But Rumble and Frenzy played the guitars.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. But also, I love the idea of Laserbeak and Buzzsaw being... It was their IDW versions translated across. They were just sarcastic. Statter on Waldorf. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
More please.
XL Hedge also says, don't forget Laserbeak and Ratbat were re-released for the Hair Metal Rock Band. Were they? I don't remember that. I mean, that would make sense.
That's right, because they all had instruments in that, didn't they? Yeah.
That's right. I don't remember them being part of that set, but I'm not going to disagree with it. Soundwave obviously got redone into Electrostatic Soundwave, aka Sound Blaster, which is just Sound Blaster color, but looks really nice. It's not just black. It's mostly a really dark gray with black, and then purple, lavender, right? That's lavender. And then red for highlights.
Lavender plastic and some real nice red.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Soundwave as well with that electric blue. They both these figures have that spot color is pretty crisp.
I think the real reason everybody got this version though was for animated Rat-Bat, not in the show, but he transforms into a Keytar, which obviously in itself is pretty sick.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, I never managed to get hold of this version, unfortunately, because it was I remember it being a bit of a pain to get over here.
Oh.
Or I never saw it on the shelf anyway, locally.
Nicole probably hooked me up, I'm sure. At this time period, it was probably the case. I'm sure it was.
But, I mean, Rat-Bat does look pretty fun.
Yeah.
Loads more paint than Laserbeak.
Yes, a lot more. I wonder why he got so much more paint than Laserbeak, because I don't think Soundwave has... I think Soundwave has equal amounts to his standard version, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're both equally well painted for robots, so it's weird that this version of Rat-Bat, Rat-Bat got all the paint as opposed to Laserbeak.
Yeah, because it's not like even like Laserbeak or Rat-Bat is a remold, a slight retool of Laserbeak. It's a completely new mold.
Yeah.
It's not like it's anything like crazy. It's not made like it's not made of 10 different bits of plastic. It's only a few bits of plastic, but still.
The only thing I can think of, and this sounds really stupid, is looking at Laserbeak, they put a lot of red paint on the head of the guitar that slides down to make it into his tail. So maybe they just didn't have the budget to do the head.
Maybe.
So they put all that paint on the actual guitar mode, whereas Rat-Bat, because the head isn't hidden anyway, it's out there. They just kind of lent into it,
maybe,
and just went.
But it just looks like in general, because there's all of the paint on each side of the guitar. There's the little sound bits going up the head, which are obviously different levels as well, and then the head, and then the eyes as well. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't quite get it.
It is very weird.
He does have a little bit more of an awkward storage on the vehicle mode, though.
Whatever do you mean?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you could have him stand in bat mode. I think that's how I always did it. I think you could have him stood in bat mode, and the little feet were good enough to like slot into the slot for where Laserbeak would generally slot into. I also had the Activators version of Soundwave, which was much better proportioned. Still had the lanky arms, but was still pretty decent. I think most of the Activators of this range were pretty good, actually. I don't remember any activator that I got being inherently bad. I think at this point, the activators were all solid figures you could grab and be relatively happy.
I mean, that's the word of mouth I have heard about this subline. I never got any activators myself, and I'm kind of kicking myself a bit just that I didn't even pick up one.
You should try. You should aim for one. Go to TF Nation this year if you can, or go to Transformers convention of some kind. And if you see an activator, there's some good ones.
Maybe I'll try and get to TFN Reading this year.
Yeah,
that's normally later in the year, isn't it?
Yeah. Like,
that could be doable.
Yeah. The Starscream one is okay. It's better than the main toy, but it's okay. It's still not great. I don't think the Bulkhead one was meant to be good. But Soundwave, I've got Soundwave. Soundwave is good. The Bumblebee one, Cliff Jumper one is good. I can't remember the rest of the activator line, to be honest, but yeah. Next up, we have Black Arachnia, who's a bit of a strange one. She's good and bad, is how I would phrase it. The spider mode is a good attempt of doing a very feminine body and not being able to hide a lot of the stuff to make it into a spider. The hands are visible. The legs don't do a huge amount. Her head is just lightly stored in her ass. Talk about putting your head in your ass, I suppose. But I will say I like the front of the spider. I think if you look at it from specific angles, it looks good. Like from the front, where they've got the extra legs, it looks good. As you move around to the side, where the arms are pretending to be legs, and the legs which are going to... It gets less good the further back you go, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, because the hands aren't hidden anywhere, that detracts. I mean, it has some strengths in it. It's one of the few spiders that stands.
Yes.
Because so many spider bots, if you try and stand them on their legs, they will just collapse inwards.
Yes, like Beast Wars Tarantulas was too fat.
Yeah, Transport 2 Black Arachnia
she was way too fat.
Yeah. This one, though, is actually really nice and stable.
Yeah.
it for beast mode poses really nice.
It mostly poses well because the front 4 legs obviously don't really do anything, while the arms and the legs,
they do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
For robot mode, does what it can because the show cheats with Black Arachnia.
No.
A lot of her stuff disappears.
I mean, let's be fair. All of animated cheats.
Oh yeah, but she really cheats.
She super cheats.
Yeah. So this does I think it's a pretty decent job of getting across the character. Perfect, not at all, but it's good enough. I've bought this mold twice. Because I've got this version, and we'll come to it later on. The Legends Black Arachnia.
Oh, with the massive tits. Yeah, I wonder why you got that one. Fucking disgusting old man. Ugh. You little fuck. Ugh. What a lad. Look at
I don't judge you much.
Oh, me and Mikey didn't like that figure either. Whoa, without tits. So my issue with this mold are the bottom of the legs. Her shins are bent inwards. I don't mind that too much because it facilitates the robot mode. The issue are she has no fucking feet and she has no heels and she is a pain to stand. She is a pain. Yeah.
I've never had any problems with either version of mine, to be fair.
No, I have not heard a lot of people say good things about the feet design. Yeah. They are far too small. Bigger feet would give her a lot more stability. I think that could have been done better. I will give credit to, I like how the abdomen is done with the spider little mandible thingies kind of filling in the stomach area. That's quite good.
Yeah.
And the head design is good. They do a lot trying to keep the female form and then also turn it into a spider. It's just, again, a little awkward is how I would describe it.
Yes, that's a good way to describe a good chunk of animated, unfortunately. Awkward.
A little awkward, yeah.
Valiant efforts, because this was a really big departure, design-wise, for the whole line.
Was this our first... No, because we had Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia. I was going to say the first proper female-looking Transformer. It's like, no, Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia was. She just couldn't stand either.
And then we had Beast Machine Black Arachnia. Which...
Well, that was just tarantulas. That didn't look like a woman at all.
Beast Machines.
Oh, Beast Machines. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, no, that one looked like a lady. Yeah.
Yeah, Beast Machines Black Arachnia is a really interesting figure for how it does everything. I was actually a bit surprised it didn't.
It was one of the good figures from Beast Machines. I don't have a lot of the Beast Machines line, but that was one of the good ones. But there were a lot of bad ones, unfortunately. Many bad figures in that line.
That is fair.
Yeah. So in terms of redo, as he said, it was only really ever redone into the Legends Black Arachnia in 2015, where they swapped out a head, changed the boobs, and that was pretty much about it. Oh, they changed the chest as well. They changed the chest because it has more spider eyes than it does anything else. Are the forearms, are the shoulders changed? Yeah, the shoulders are changed as well. Yeah. Well, that piece, the shoulder to the bicep, is also changed. And it's a pretty decent attempt of making a Black Arachnia Beast Wars version of it. They got the color scheme down and all that jazz. It's still obviously awkward as fuck in bug mode, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, until Earthrise, this was really the best Beast Wars Black Arachnia you were going to get.
Yeah. Earthrise or Kingdom? It was Kingdom, right?
Kingdom, yes, Kingdom. Yeah.
And I mean, that one has its own problems because it has that peg in her boobs, which will break sometimes, I hear. I don't think mine has, but it's one of those things that you got to be aware of. The issue with this Black Arachnia, her boobs, in spider mode, don't really do anything. They're meant to be like the mandibles for the spider, but they just look like two giant tits hanging off of a spider's face. I
mean, the way they posed this one isn't great.
It doesn't help.
Yeah, I mean, it was a valiant effort that just didn't really pan out.
It was a smart redo. It was a smart retool. Very interesting smart retool, but not perfect.
Yeah. Fun accessory as well that both versions of this came with. The old grabby claw with a string.
I kind of agree, but kind of don't, because that string does not come out a long way. It's a very, very small string.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that if you have this gimmick where you extend the cable, then you press a button and they kind of Batman grappling hook away. You want a long cable, but it's very short.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember how long it is. It's like
not long.
5-6 inches, maybe 7 inches long, maybe.
Yeah,
might only be 4. I'm not sure. The actual claw on the top of it is not too bad. I think that's okay. But yeah, she doesn't really have weapons per se. She just has this one little claw. Yeah, this one's an okay one. It's okay. Jazz is next. He's a decent one. Look, it's really wave 1 of animated where you got the rough toys like Bumblebee and Lockdown. They're the two big ones, at least for the deluxe size class. Jazz is one of the later ones of this year, and he's one of the better ones, I would say. He has a very cool new look to Jazz. And then he has a really fancy, sexy vehicle car mode. Decent amount of paint. Yeah. Maybe his stripes could have gone onto the roof. Maybe. I think they actually do in the show. I'm pretty sure they do in the show, but it's good that they at least got them on the front of the car, at least. Then he comes with 2 nunchucks, which are the side pipes, the side exhausts, which are quite nice. They have the perfect amount of rope to them as well. It's not too long, it's not too short for nunchucks.
Yeah, it's a fun gimmick.
Yeah, they look good on the sides of his arms as well. I don't think... Is that transformed right? I always had them pointed down.
I would have done that as well, point them down.
Yeah. Weird. They just kind of stick up. I think they've mistransformed it here, but that's okay. He does have all of his back of the car on his legs. Very micromastery, I suppose. Not a huge issue, I don't think. For another ninja character, he's not nearly as posable as Prowl, but he does have a double bicep joint, and it's not a weird one. It's what is a lot more standard and normal for a double bicep joint, which is nice to see. He doesn't really have any weird joints where you look at it and go, that's weird, but he doesn't have he does have a very conventional transformation. You look at him and you can probably figure out what he does transformation wise.
Absolutely.
He does have the cut in his feet though to do an A pose. I remember that. He has those cuts, right?
I think so, yeah.
Fermi.
But he's a fun looking design, isn't he?
I like him.
I dig it.
Like him. Yeah, it's a good new version of Jazz. And I think this guy got a repaint. Yeah, he was done into Freeway Jazz, which is boring. It's gray Jazz. Do you like him gray?
Is this fair attempt to make him into movie Jazz? Because why?
I mean, I don't think so. It doesn't have a description of why this exists.
I mean, it's a very movie Jazz color scheme, gunmetal gray, effectively. And
I was going to say maybe it's just Jazz's color scheme. It's no, the original color scheme is Jazz's color scheme. This is just you say, is just great. It's like Silverstreak's colors, except even less than that. Silverstreak had red to it, or at least more red to it. So there's Freeway Jazz, which is lame. There was the best version of this version mold, which I have, which is Dead End from the BotCon set, where they painted on a mustache onto him, which looks really cool. I like this one a lot for obvious reasons.
That does look really well, actually.
Yeah, it's just a good redo of the mold. It looks similar but different. It's like this is the mirror universe version of animated Jazz because he's got the evil mustache.
He looks like Batroc the Leaper.
Oh, he does. I could see that. Like comic version, not movie version.
Give him an absurd French accent.
Yeah. I could see that. He was meant to be a sad poet, if I remember from the comic. But yeah, this one's great as well. No doubt about that.
That's actually a really nice paint job. Actually, that burgundy stripe. That's actually a really nice take on use of this mold.
I tell you,
dig that a lot.
It's a small thing, but having the wing mirrors, are those wing mirrors the yellow bits on the side? Because they're so weird. I think the wing mirrors, having them painted yellow as well, adds a little bit of oomph to it as well.
Yeah,
you could have just done them burgundy.
I mean, Jazz had been painted in silver, so it's not like they weren't unpainted on the other one. But on this mold, it really does just give it some extra, some extra zip.
And the only other version that came out was the Jackpot version, which has a new head and was done for the this was the Transformers Collector Club Figure Service version 1. So I guess this was one of the early ones.
The subscription. Yeah.
Was this BotCon when they were doing subscription figures?
It wasn't BotCon. It was actually the Collectors Club itself, where I think it was like $50 a figure or something for the year. And you had to get and I think you had to pay the whole thing in it. Wait, you could buy specific ones, but if you wanted the full set, so there was one exclusive one that came at the end of the collection of each year, and you got familiar. That, and that was basically a freebie if you bought the whole subscription.
Yeah,
but you kind of had to pay it up front, and it was like £300 or something.
I don't remember people being excited for this because one, it's Jackpot, and people don't usually get excited for Jackpot. And this came out in 2013, which was 4 years after the original mold came out, so it was pretty old at this point. I do give them credit. The head is nice. It is Jackpot-ish. The color scheme's fine. It's very Jackpot, and it's nice that the car mode kind of hides all of the yellow that the robot mode has.
Yes, that's actually nice. Quite refreshing to see that. In fact,
but I would say the car mode's not bad. It's just not impressive. It's
not as exciting. I mean, the stripe on the front is nice, but it just needs. I think the two colors kind of bleed together too much. They don't. The weird thing is weird. They're both very distinct colors, but they're together.
Which colors do you mean? Do you mean the stripes on the stripe, orange and the red?
Yeah, because they just kind of the tones they've gone for just odd. And it's a shame because they kind of I see what they've gone for because they've tried to match kind of the tone of the translucent on like the lights, and it doesn't work as well on the windscreen because you have a lot of that yellow inside that's changing the tint of the plastic. But it's a shame because it's not bad. I mean, it's a black version of the Jazz car mod. That should be a bit of a winner, really. But it just doesn't quite click, does it?
No, I'll give them credit for not just calling it Ricochet. That's the easy thing to do. It might have been safer to call him Ricochet, to be honest. I'm not sure if it would have guaranteed extra sales, but maybe it would have done a bit more. But okay, that's fine. That was all the Jazz got. So you got you could argue more than most. We got now, I think, probably my favorite figure of animated, which was Oil Slick.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Oil Slick.
I don't
think anyone's had a bad word about him, have they?
No. Oil Slick is very prowl in a lot of ways. He's a very long, thin, lanky dude who turns into a bike. The difference is he has huge hands, which are claws, a ram's head, and he is a really sick bike. I don't know what kind of bike he is, but it's a really sick one with a ram's head on the front of it, and a double wheel on the front.
I think in America they call that a hog, don't they?
I don't know. I don't know James
or a chopper.
May. Was that a James May impression?
What, going full on? I think you'll find. Yeah.
Okay. Issues with the figure. I would say it was probably unwise to have the handlebars made out of a rubbery plastic on a pin joint.
Yes, yeah.
Because when you've got to spin those round to get them into the upright position.
That's not going to be fun.
Yeah, I don't know how mine's doing, but being a very rubbery plastic, I wouldn't want to test it, to be honest. Apparently, there is an attack mode which I've never fucking heard of. I think this is more of a fan mode TFU, but that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was official, but to me, I think you're playing silly buggers, to be honest.
That feels like they're transforming it and they sneezed midway through and just went, oh, that looks all right.
Yeah, it's very downwards dog in terms of yoga posing.
Yes.
Yeah, but I really like this figure. I like the fact that his head is in a fishbowl. It reminds me a little bit of the main villain from Street Sharks, whatever that guy was called, the piranha-headed dude. You know who I mean?
I know who you mean. I cannot remember.
You could also say this is very Mr. Freeze. I would go with that. I agree. Mm-hmm. I just like the colors. He's got this kind of olive green color on him, and then army green. The feet are pretty large, so he's not going to fall over. His weapons are a little lackluster. He has a wooden barrel that extends by a chain, but the chain's quite small. So it feels it's again like Black Arachne is like pulley out string thing. You're like, it needs to be longer and it would be more satisfying.
I mean, that looks like it's supposed to be like a set of bolos. The things you throw at someone and it wraps around their legs to catch them.
Yeah, he does hold them. There's like a peg which you peg into his hand and he holds them. So maybe he's meant to fling it. I'm not sure. It wasn't because we got no. We got a small screen time with him in season 3, and he didn't really do anything. So it's really hard to figure out. And he was in a Cybertronian mode there as well, so it's hard to know what they were really going for here. And his other his other wooden barrel turns into a beer keg. Like you flip it open, and I guess he can drink from it, even though he's got a bowl head. So weird. I don't know. It's weird. No, this is my favorite one. As I said, I really like the design just in general. The transformation's very easy. No real shock there. Oh god, I don't like the Japanese one at all. Ooh, they've replaced his lower limbs in it and changed them to like a metallic green, so it throws off his color scheme completely. I don't like that.
Ooh, yeah, that's That's a choice, isn't it?
I think this was the Henki time where for the animated line they went, shall we just throw some metallic-y, chromy things on the figures, even though it doesn't need to be? And it was like, yeah.
I mean, it kind of works for the bike, but it doesn't really do much for the robot mode, does it?
No. Yeah, I kind of agree with you that it works a lot better with the bike. It still looks a little bit random, effectively, but
yeah.
Better.
Do you think it might partly not work in robot mode because you can't, because of how thin the arms are, because the bits that cover the forearms, so you don't really see much from unless you've angled the arms specifically to show them off.
I don't think it would help. I think the issue is because it's a metallic green. It's too bright next to the olive green as well, where the other one's like a dark next to a light color. It kind of has a nice contrast.
I get that. Yeah.
Either way, I think the American version's good. I like this figure a lot. It's really fun. I'd say you should try and grab it if you can, Big D. If it's not expensive, I don't know if animated things are expensive these days or not. So who knows? Who knows?
I might have a shifty.
I like him. Very fun bike former. Nice big hands as well. Nice big clawed hands. He's like he's almost like Nosferatu. You know where the hand, the big shadow,
long.
Yeah, kind of like that, like a creepy monster character. We're on to the Voyagers now. We've got Blitzwing. Blitzwing being a interesting idea.
Yeah.
But doesn't really quite work either, because obviously he's a triple changer, and the modes are they're moding. They're moding.
Yes.
And then he's got the head gimmick where he can have any 3 of the heads. Now in the show, it's a really cool idea, and it works to show off his different personalities of insane Arnold Schwarzenegger and cold Nazi German. The kids. The robot mode is a wee bit on the bow-legged side. And then he has the awkward wings hanging down from the sides, which, if I remember, those could pop off a little bit too easily. Again, it's one of those slightly awkward robot modes. Open hands as well, so I guess if he wanted to salute, he could do. I guess he could. It would be appropriate for one of his faces, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to be careful which salute he's doing.
Well, no,
sadly.
that's the salute he would do. He's a bad guy. He's a villain.
Yeah.
You know, but for the tank mode, I like the idea of the tank. It's a nice, It's I don't know whether it was intentional, but it's almost the Metal Slug tank. Like it's just a square. It's a square with treads.
It's so squat. I mean, I kind of dig how they've tried to have four wings come together and form the front with that very vehicular face look to the visor.
Yeah, it's meant to look like a little cockpit, isn't it? Where the Baron would look out and spot or drive, right?
Yeah,
it kind of works.
But it's not great, but all right. Points for effort there.
Yeah, that's how this figure generally feels. He feels like it's you're trying to do a lot, but you don't really know exactly how to do it. And when you look at the jet mode again, the jet's like he's just got treads under his bum, and he's just got the tank turret hanging off the bottom as well. That's trying to be the jet engines. So it's all these interesting ideas. They don't really work. And if you look where the head is, where the nose cone is, to transform the head, you just turn it around.
Yeah,
you know. And it doesn't really connect. So there's this gap between where the head is and where it's meant to hide, like make a seamless look connecting to the body for the jet mode. It doesn't really work. And that's the figure. It's just and the problem with the 3 head gimmicks are the what kind of helmet is that, Big D? You know things. What kind of military helmet is this?
It's supposed to be, I think, a Stell helm.
Okay, so
which is the classic German military helmet.
So the Stell helm looks good. It doesn't hide the other 2 faces. And it especially doesn't hide the crazy face. The only head that is really substantial is the Arnold Schwarzenegger big chin head. That's the one that kind of fills out the most of the head. The thin German face is a little too thin, and for some reason the crazy face is the thinnest of them all, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I've always heard people say about this is that really the 3 faces, it's nice to have them, but they should have stuck with one because they're all too small because of how the gimmick. To make the gimmick work, they've had to make them fit inside the helmet, and it's just all too small. And like you say, you can't really hide some of the faces because of the different sizes of all of them as well. Yeah, it's a bit all over the place, unfortunately.
However, it was done better than when Generations tried to kind of make a nod to the gimmick. If you remember that Voyager Blitzwing.
Yeah.
Where you kind of push the head, you press the chin in, and then you would rotate it down that way, like you would scroll an iPhone. That kind of finger motion, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It looked as awkward and this looked like superior in comparison with how it worked.
I mean, this was at least a fun way attempt at it. I mean, it was basically Manny faces in a Transformer, which was cut. Which is still kind of a unique idea.
Yeah, I'd like to see them try and revisit this design again. I'm not sure I want Legacy to do it because I'm not sure how well Legacy does with transitioning like very unique art styles, as we've seen with their other stuff. But I'd be interested to see them try it because I like this Blitzwing's character. I think the idea of, like you said, Manny Faces Blitzwing was really fun and interesting for a character. But yeah, the figures, I think for animated, the Voyagers, especially the early Voyagers, suffer a lot.
Yes.
And Blitzwing's, like if we look at Bumblebee, like he's big, he's a bit awkward, but he was only 12 pounds.
Yeah, this is a bit more of an ask for someone, to be honest.
This probably needed to be leaded to make it work. And even then, for 2009... I don't. I mean, they couldn't get Legacy Blitzwing to work at a leader price point. I would argue. I don't think they could do it for animated Blitzwing now either. Potentially, but he is better because he didn't get a repaint, as far as I'm aware. He is better than Starscream, who's probably my most disliked figure from animated.
Oh, poor Screamer.
They decide to give him gimmicks. For some reason. I don't know why. but they thought an automorph feature was a great idea, which made his nose cone for jet mode an absolute laughingstock. Like when it's not good. Right, so robot mode. Very thin legs, which are appropriate. Very big arms, fine. But there's a big distance between the front of his chest and his back, because it's straight. It seems to go back forever. It doesn't, but it goes back further than you think it would do. He's got the gorilla monkey arms, so if you want him to do any hand poses, he's got to monkey arm them for some reason. Excuse me, he does have
I was going to say, they really didn't like giving anyone the full elbow joint, did they? Into a straight arm.
Not for some characters. Yeah, no, they didn't. This is the first time in the animated line, though, where that's been the case, where the gorilla arm happened. We've looked at the other ones, and they've all had ball jointed arms. Granted, sometimes they've been like a ball peg going into a ball joint, which always looked a bit weird, but they could move their arm at least. Starscream can't. He does have an elbow bend. It's just inwards. His hands open up, much like Ratchet's, but the pin's hidden at least. He has a gimmick where you can push the null rays on his forearms forward, and you can see on the forearms there's like these cuts. Those bits pop outwards for some reason. Because that never happened in the show, but that was something that could happen. Also, for some reason, I don't know why the null rays are on hinge joints, so you can fling them upwards. You can have them pointed directly upwards. I don't think that was for the vehicle mode. Oh, no. For the vehicle mode, that's right, because for some reason, the guns are pointing backwards. So I think you can flip them awkwardly forward. So it would look like he's shooting directly downwards. But it's not where you would hope null rays would be. I think these would have been serviced better if they were just pegs. You pop them out the pegs and you stuck them on the wings, like with most Seekers. I think that would be a bit more of a better solution. The nose cone does automorph, but I can't remember why or what exactly it does in the process. I think you move something and the nose cone goes inwards and helps push up the head. I'm not entirely sure. I think the arms automorph outwards as well.
I mean, it looks like if you push the head in, if you push the nose cone in, the head comes out and vice versa.
I don't think that's how it worked. I think you pulled the chest on a hinge forward and the nose cone went in automatically. I think. Like I say, it's been a while. It's one of those toys where they went automorph gimmick and you went, but you've killed the toy now. And it's like, yeah. Isn't it fun? It's like, no, don't.
I mean, just looking at the picture, the jet mode actually looks all right, apart from that nose.
Yeah, it's the right shape. It looks like it should. It's got a lot of undercarriage, obviously, but yeah, it's a jet, whatever. Yeah, like you say, the nose cone, you look at it and you go, oh, okay. It's also the wrong color. If you look at the Japanese version, apart from the random metallic chrome on his chest and wings, he's a lighter shade of grayish blue. Yeah. I'd argue it looks like it's got better face paint applied as well, but it's hard to tell. It's odd. If you look at the alternators version below, it's still a little bit on the wonky side, and for some reason TFU's missing the other shoulder pad. But it's not nearly as hampered. The wings are much closer to his back, and whatnot. It's this is disappointing. He doesn't. This one has ball joints in his arm as well, so it doesn't have the gorilla arms. There you go. That's another benefit to the Activators one. This was done into Sunstorm for some reason, and Skywarp. No Thundercracker. If you wanted the Thundercracker, you'd have to go to Japan for it, if I remember correctly. I don't know why.
That's really odd.
It is. It is very odd. XL Head says, kind of wish Blitzwing had the fourth in-between jet and tank mode, so the crazy face could have his own alt mode. They were barely able to get those two modes out. I think wishing for an in-between mode would have been asking for too much. But I understand where you're coming from, XL Hedge. So the Sunstorm version is yellow, but Sunny D, it's what you would expect.
It's very yellow. That red burgundy they've used is quite nice.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
not
But,
just red. I think the darker burgundy is a better choice than just having red. That's good.
Yeah, looks all right.
And then Sky
It's
Warp.
just
The Sky Warp. Yeah.
yeah,
It's not black, but he's kind of an off gray, like charcoal gray, that's fine. But it's like, yep. Sky Warp.
Yep.
You know.
That's certainly a Sky Warp.
Yeah. What does he look like in jet mode? Well, it looks like Starscream, but Sky Warp. Like, okay, yeah. It's exactly what you would think it is. Because of course it is, and that's as good as you can say. I don't like this mold. It's not fun to transform. It's not fun to play with. The gimmick killed it. Is how I would describe it.
That's a real shame because animated Starscream does have a good look to him.
He does. Yeah, I agree. It's a shame that the toy never really pulled it off. Next up is the Voyager Optimus Prime. So, is it better than the deluxe one? In some ways, yes. He has a gimmick. He has a little lever in the back of his head so he can have the face mask up, or you can have the face mask around his chin. It's a tad awkward. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to do it. I guess just for the sake of having a gimmick. But it hampers the throat, Yeah,
it just doesn't look. It just looks off.
Yeah, it's exactly how it is. It's just off. You look at it and you're like, why?
The faceplate up looks fine, but down just looks like he's just got his faceplate down.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is.
It's like what we did during lockdown when you wanted to breathe and you just pulled your face mask down to breathe and go, and then pulled it back up again. That's what that reminds me of. Articulation-wise, he's kind of similar to the previous Deluxe Optimus Prime. He does transform differently. I'm not sure better is the way I would describe it from what I remember, but I will say because of the way they've done the axe, it gives a better look to the vehicle mode. It looks a bit more accurate to how he did in the show. It's not, but it's closer to it. He also comes with his gun, which is a water pistol, if I remember correctly, but it does not store a lot of water because of how tiny it is. XL Hedge says, spin to win Optimus Prime. I was wondering if it was this one as well. I think you have to spin the waist around and around to transform him to get him from... if you imagine like an L shape, you spin the torso around and it kind of straightens him out, which was a weird idea. It wasn't a forced version like the quote-unquote leader or supreme one where you pushed him around and it did it automatically. I think you just had to do it manually. Is that right, XL Hedge? I can't remember. And I don't know why they thought it was an idea that was worth doing either.
I think it's just one way they came up with to get the look to work.
Are you sure it's not just like gimmick for gimmick's sake?
It might have been, but at least it was a gimmick in service to the transformation as opposed to just...
Oh, yeah, it's not like Starscream's one where it was just ass.
Yeah.
It didn't hamper how the robot looked, at least.
Yeah, but this is them trying a different bit of engineering to what other takes on the same character had, just to try and see if it worked. And I think it did. I mean,
I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it works. I just don't think, one, it was appropriate, or two, it was worth doing. You could argue.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
You might be right. Maybe it was just to set it apart from the deluxe version because obviously it didn't have the spinning gimmick. I guess the issue is it makes it too similar to the leader version where you have to spin it around to transform. Again, we're using leader in quotations because I don't think it was classed as a leader. It's nice that he doesn't have the wheels on his back at all. They are stored in his leg as they should be.
Yeah.
They are a little bit more obvious because he's got the front of the truck mode that's just like stuck on the back of the legs now. But it does make the robot mode overall cleaner, I would say.
Yeah.
This was done only a couple of times, not a huge amount. Sorry, you were going to say something, Big D.
Oh, I was just going to say I don't know if I like the axe as much as the deluxe versions.
No, the axe kind of reminds me a little bit of the Cybertronian one. It's more there to facilitate the vehicle mode, because it does add to the vehicle mode and make it look a bit more like it did in the show. But it doesn't look like a good axe. I'm not really sure I would feel comfortable using that as something to bludgeon or like cleave someone in twine with. Excelhead says, release the latch on the back and either spin the legs or spin the torso like in the show. Oh, there you go, manually. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't remember exactly how it worked, but there you go. That's how it worked. This was done only for BotCon. It was done into animated Toxitron, where they repainted him into, at the time, for the longest time as well, the only version of Toxitron you could get. He's super pretty. I still really like him. I would like them, believe it or not, to do a repaint and slight retool of the animated Optimus Prime from Legacy into Toxitron. And I only want them to remold the head. I don't want it to look like Prime, even though that's probably what they would do. I'd either want them to do a masked version, because the standard Optimus Prime that came with Legacy wasn't masked, or do a one where he looks slightly stupid, because if I remember, he's meant to be Bizarro, effectively.
Yes.
So having a slightly gormless look, or having like buck teeth or something could be interesting.
I mean, they've done a version of that Prime as Motormaster, so you gotta think they've got to do Toxitron at some point.
Yeah, because it exists, so why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And that's the other one, where it's Motormaster. I'd say this is still a better head than the one that we have currently. But the one we have currently is good, because most people don't have, animated Motormaster from the set.
Head for this always made me laugh, because they basically made Motormaster into Hulk Hogan.
It was either that or Macho Man. No, I think it was meant to be Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
I think it was either him or Macho Man. Either way,
and that's just become funnier and funnier as Hogan's been revealed to be more and more of a trash human being over the years. It's hilarious.
It's not really a shock, I suppose. But yeah. No, and they kept the box head, and it was, I think, it was the first time we'd had Motormaster again, and especially like a square head, like not even the original G1 probably really had the square head. At least to me, it never came across. It just seemed to be a normal head that just happened to be in a square because of how the mold worked.
This was how everyone kind of pictured Motormaster from all his depictions in media, but the toys never had matched up to it. And he's like, oh yeah, that's the right head shape. Perfect. That's Motormaster.
Yeah. So both of these were, I think, fantastic redos from BotCon. I think they did a great job. Because Toxitron's colors are great, and the way that they just gave so much character and such an interesting head sculpt as well for Motormaster, spot on quality.
Yeah,
not the best molds, obviously, but
but like I say, really nice redecos.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Cybertronian Megatron, who I don't like. He's one of those slightly awkward ones, and it's mainly because of how disgustingly large his fusion cannon is, and it is aggressively.
It's a whopper, isn't it?
Yes, it's detrimental because it's not only big, it's fucking heavy.
Yeah,
it's tremendously heavy. You can detach it. You don't have to have it attached. I think the reason it's so big is because it's trying to make up the size of the gun that was the ship mode, and the ship mode is a little better here than the deluxe version, but it's still very much, you look at it and you go, I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't get it. It's confusing. For some reason, Megatron here has translucent feet as well. I don't know why. He has translucent biceps, a translucent abdomen, which I don't mind the abdomen. I don't know why the feet specifically are translucent. In the image,
someone on the design team knows no fear.
I guess someone decided as well, who took the photo here, to use the fusion cannon as a walking stick to help him stand. They were like, "Should we try and pose him with the gun?" Nah, fuck that. No way. I think they tried to get it so it had the blade mode as well. The deluxe had the blade mode as well, but the blades just are awkward. Let's say, it's an awkward gimmick as well. I do like how the chest transforms, because the split in the middle of his chest kind of opens up and you kind of pull the arms together in the front of his chest, which is kind of neat, because you wouldn't suspect that. But this is just not a good figure. His legs are fucking massive. At least his shins are huge as well.
Yeah.
The leader Megatron, who we're going to talk about in a second, is much better than this. This was not very good. I didn't like this at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, isn't it?
Do you have any thoughts on him, Big D?
Just for it's another one where it's a bit of a shame, but that weapon, because it has to have it's got a gimmick in it as well. It just kind of it.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because, like I say, there's some really fun engineering going on with chest transformation. It's just
a bit messy. Exelhead says, still too close to Laser Prime Toxitron. Maybe at the end of the year, if Age of the Prime still have alternate universe characters. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. It'd be nice to see. I mean, they could do it for Generation Select if that's still a thing. Who knows? A Hasbro PulseCon exclusive or something. There'd be a way to fart it out if they wanted to. Next up, we have another awkward one, which is Voyager Bulkhead. I don't think Voyager Bulkhead is a bad figure, but he is very small. Like Lugner, who we'll talk about next time, they're far smaller than they should be. But the actual vehicle and robot mode, I think, are better than the leader versions.
Yes. When we talk about the leader, I have some issues with the leader version of Bulkhead. And honestly, I wish I'd been able to pick up this version instead, because it might not be the right scale, but it just looks it looks more like the character.
Yeah, it's the accurate version of him, I would say.
Yeah.
He's round. Yeah. He if you want to be awkward, you can say his backpack is awkward. It is. It kind of throws off his little round boy shape. But they gave him two stubby, tiny legs, which barely work, which is accurate to the show. They gave him his wrecking ball gimmick, so he can pop out the wrecking balls on his fists. You pull them back in, which is quite nice as well. He's got his 3 fingers that open up, little claws that obviously just hold the balls in.
It's
nice.
The way they've done the face is, I quite like that, to be honest. That one eye slightly larger than the other look, which is quintessential animated Bulkhead. Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, it's good. And the vehicle mode is mostly, again, the right way. You can see there's springs in the arms, so there is more automorph here, and I think that's probably an issue generally with Voyagers of this time period, which is just automorph, springs, gimmicks, blah, 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 which kind of figure. The big issue I have with the vehicle mode is the gap in the roof, which is obviously, his 2 arms go behind his back and then into his little cups, and there's no gap that fills that.
That's a bit of a shame, that.
It's not a massive issue. It's very noticeable.
It is.
Otherwise, I like this a lot. I think it does exactly what you want it to. It's just too small, basically.
Yes. If this had been in the leader price point at a leader scale, as opposed to what we got as the leader, but then the leader is loaded with gimmicks. That's why.
Yeah, even more gimmicks.
Yeah. More than is necessary, but that's kind of a thing with.
That's like you said. Yeah, that's the leader.
Like this time. Gimmicks was a thing for this era, and animated. Lest you forget, was the premier kids-focused version of the brand. It was, and gimmicks is what the boards think sells to kids. So gimmicks are high, and they have the money to put them in. So all right.
And to be fair, every figure we've talked about so far had some form of a gimmick. How intrusive his was, that's the question. Lockdown's gimmick was he couldn't open his hands. Ha ha ha. No, it was obviously the little engine thing that could combine with Ratchet. That was his gimmick. Yeah. Bumblebee's was his shitty stingers. It didn't really work either. Yeah. Ratchet's were his multiple tools and his little magnet things that came out of his hand. Everything had its own little gimmick, but some were more intrusive than others. But Bulkhead was good. He didn't get a redo. It was the one and only Bulkhead, at least of this mold, which is kind of surprising. I'm surprised they didn't do Elite Guard Bulkhead, anything like that. He wasn't the most articulated. There's no waist joint or anything like that. But he's a big fat chunky boy. Yeah, because the front of his vehicle mode is just his entire torso. Bit of a shame, but again, of the era where you just kind of accepted these things. We have the leaders next, which, as you said, well, the first one's not really a leader. I think he was classed as supreme, or he didn't have a He might not have had a toy like group
a class point, yeah.
Yeah, because it does say leader, but it's not leader class toy. So what was the difference here? The axe did some transforming. The blue blade actually popped out, and the flames popped out as well out the back of the axe, which was quite nice. I think the handle extended, maybe.
I think that was the thing.
And his big thing was he did most of his transformation by you rolling him forward. I can't remember if you had to like click a button in the back or like detach some parts, but you would push him forward. His torso would spin around, his arms would unfold outwards, and then he'd slowly just be in the right position for you to just finagle the bits on his leg to then make him Optimus Prime.
Okay.
So the gimmick figure, I don't know how hampered he was by his gimmick, but he's got a fairly good look to him in terms of his sculpt. He doesn't have the frames around the backs of his leg. Those frames are now around his waist this time round. So the extra plastic has gone somewhere, at the very least. Yeah, I don't have much to say on this because I didn't have it, because I never wanted it because it was just the big gimmick thing.
It's one of those things they do it from time to time with Prime, don't they? They put out a gimmick version of him for one of the line. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's always... None of them have ever really been good, have they?
No, they're compromised to have the gimmick.
Yeah, they've been fun, no doubt, but they're the sort of toy that you don't have... There's nothing long-term to them.
No, they're the one that you give to, they're the maybe it's like way bigger than every other figure, but it's only 25 quid, and you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just for the gimmick more so than anything else. XL Hedge says, the only show accurate axe. Yeah. Because the Voyager's axe was compromised to be compatible to extend the back of the fire truck mode. Thus, it didn't look right. The deluxe one wasn't quite right either. It's probably the closest, apart from this one. And this one has flame effects coming out the back of it as well. Actually, does Motor Master? Where's your fucking axe? Yeah, does the animated Optimus Prime's axe from Legacy have a fire effect on it or for it?
It doesn't, but it has a port for one.
I think that's the same for Motor Masters. I can't. Where's his fucking axe gone?
I'm looking at mine now.
Oh my god!
Yeah, there's a whole. You could slot an effect part in there. So
I think I've dropped Motor Master's axe somewhere down the side of the chair. I don't know where it's gone. I'm looking on my desk in front of me, and it's like it's not next to him. I meant to ask: did you ever have trouble getting that Optimus Prime to double hand the axe? Because it's quite tight on my Motor Master, and I don't want to just force it. Oh, there it is. There's the axe. I don't want to just force the shaft through the hole, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it can be it is a little on the awkward side, isn't it?
Okay, I thought so. I wondered if that was the case or not. I did find the axe. It wasn't on the floor. It was on my table. The issue with Motor Master's axe for the Legacy version is it's barely painted. I don't know about the standard Optimus Prime, but only the engine part of the axe, where the jet would come from, only that bit is really painted. The rest of it is just like translucent plastic and then purple.
Well, interesting. On Prime, they've done the head of the axe in red.
Is that the translucent red you mean? Oh, no, I know the part you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. The actual engine section is translucent. The blade is translucent. And then between the head and the blade, the panels on the surface of the blade are done in metallic.
Oh, they painted those bits. Yeah, they didn't paint those bits on Motor Masters. Oh. Yeah. Interesting. So this Optimus Prime, can't say too much. Big gimmick toy. The last one we'll talk about tonight is Megatron, who has a lights and sound gimmicks, because that's the thing. So he has a big Decepticon insignia, which you press his chest. I remember he has a laugh. I can't remember what else. Does it say what his lines are? One of his lines is crush the Autobots. Decepticons rise up was one of the other ones. I remember that. He went bah ha 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 in Corey Burton voice. He comes with 2 swords, which are very cool. Comes with that's the tech spec. He comes with his fusion cannon and then a missile. And you actually have to cock the bless you. You have to cock the fusion cannon to fire it as well, which is kind of fun gimmick. It transforms into a helicopter. It's a little bit of an awkward helicopter. He's always knock-kneed, which is his biggest flaw, unfortunately. His knees are always pushed on the inward side, but he's a very big, bulky toy. He has lights and sounds in his eyes as well. And when you push the button, his head a little bit awkwardly goes up to make his mouth open up, and his eyebrow part is meant to move a little bit, but it doesn't quite work either.
It's kind of adorable in how poorly it works, to be honest.
You can see what they're trying to do, and it's ambitious, but it doesn't doesn't quite work. I wonder if it ever worked, like in the plan stages of like the prototypes, if those ever worked, or if it was always just like, oh, it's kind of awkward, but fuck it, it's good enough kind of deal, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting, that.
Oh no, I've just noticed. I said Starscream was the only one that had gorilla arms. I lied. Megatron's got the gorilla arms as well. Oh no. I forgot about that shit. Yeah, unfortunately, Megatron has gorilla arms, so if you want to pose the fusion cannon, you're not going to have a lot of posing options for him, unfortunately. A fairly simple transformation, especially for the size of him. He's pretty easy to transform. He does have a fun gimmick where if you rotate one helicopter blade, the other helicopter blade will rotate as well, and the sound gimmick will go off, you know, which is quite nice. The head is very exposed. The only thing that doesn't expose it is the fact that the fusion cannon has a big gray bit of plastic, which is unfortunately the underside of the helicopter cockpit, and thus hides Megatron's face there. So it's incredibly necessary that you never lose that. His arms are very visible, and his legs mostly come together to hide and become a tail fin. But he does less transforming, I think, than some of the deluxes in some ways. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the leaders for animated were stupidly solid figures.
They're big, very heavy too,
and durable. But that was mainly because they were loaded with electronics and other gimmickry, so that compromised everything else.
Yeah.
So it meant, like you say, they had very simple transformations, which is a shame because animated Megatron, I've actually always had a soft spot for that ultimate because I adore the Cobra Mamba.
Yeah.
The old double propellered weird ass gunship.
Wasn't the Cobra Mamba the one that had 3 cockpits where you could drop off 2 of the cockpits and there would be like boats? Or is that a different one?
Yes. That was the same one, but it also had 2 sets of propellers, rotor blades.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So when you say the Cobra Mamba, you think of it, but without the extra cockpits, which is the real vehicle mode, I suppose, of it.
Pretty much. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
The way they've done Meg's arms here kind of mimics that, but just that twin rotor look is something we don't see a lot of, especially in this configuration.
No, that's true.
And the way the blades do kind of. In reality, they were supposed to kind of spin between each other, the blades. That's how that sort of design works, so to speak. It's something that has been toyed with over the years in reality.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, having 2 rotor blades that are supposed to spin between each other is not something that's very easy to do.
What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong?
It worked out a mechanism to let you fire bullets through the front prop of a biplane, so it's just timing.
Yeah, nothing could go wrong though. Nothing ever.
But and it's a shame because it is a nice, solid figure in hand, but it is just also one that's a bit compromised.
Yeah,
and I have never seen one secondhand that still has all the gubbins.
Oh, really?
Yes. Everyone I've ever seen.
The missile's quite small.
The missile, the swords tend to go missing.
Oh, that's a bummer.
The fusion cannon, surprisingly, is I've found quite hard to find versions with that.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a shame.
There's only one accessory you can miss and it not affect the figure, and it's the missile. Everything else is necessary. If you don't have it, you can't have the full vehicle mode.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like a fusion cannon, 1 sword. It's like, or 2 swords, no fusion cannon, so you can see his fucking face in robot mode. In vehicle mode all the time. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And it's kind of a shame because I'd love to see this design revisited one day.
Yeah, Excel Head says again, where's the legacy animated Megatron version? Yeah, it'd be nice to see.
It's a nice design. I mean, I've noticed that they've actually focused from so far on doing the animated Autobots from the first season. The core crew.
Yes, true.
We're just missing Ratchet, so I wouldn't be surprised if once we get him, they'll start filling in the rest of the roster for the Decepticons.
You'd hope so. Well,
yeah,
depending how they do them. Some of them have been served better than others. I think Prime has been served well.
We shall see.
Yeah, I look forward to it. It'll be interesting at the very least to see, because I wouldn't mind, like you say, until Prime came out, animated Megatron was the best Megatron in a lot of ways, and he does have a really good voice. Like Corey Burton does a really good Megatron voice.
Yeah. Bear in mind that he was coming off of. He was having to match up to. I mean, really, David Kaye was the TV version Megatron to live up to that point, and Kaye got given the job of doing Prime, which he kind of killed that, to be honest.
He did a great job. Yeah, good young Prime, a very different Prime that we haven't really had since. We just had G1 Optimus Prime, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. So, it was nice idea. Again, flawed execution, which is a shame because I'd like to say more nice things about this, but I really can't, unfortunately.
That's a lot. I think that's a bit of a feel for the animated line. There are some figures that are really good. Like for me, Oil Slick. It's not a complex figure, but I think it's very standout. But then there are just figures that are compromised here and there.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think, are figures from, I wouldn't say Armada. I wasn't going to be that silly. But maybe from like Cybertron, are they better figures than some of the animated figures? And I think some of them are. Like I think I'd put like Noise Maze is better than most of the deluxes. Actually, is there a deluxe figure that's better than Noise Maze / Sideways from Cybertron / Galaxy Force? I don't think so. I like Oil Slick, but Noise Maze is more interesting for a Transformer. Like he transforms in a much more interesting way.
Yeah.
Can you think of any?
I really can't.
No, granted, there are some bad ones in Cybertron as well. Is it fair to say Backpack, because Backpack's a scout? Like, who's a bad deluxe figure from Cybertron?
Thundercracker?
Thundercracker's pretty bad. I'd say I'd like Oil Slick more than that. Is he better than Bumblebee? Is Thundercracker better than Bumblebee?
He might be.
In some ways, he's better than Bumblebee.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult, isn't it?
It is. I mean, here's the thing. Each line's different. I mean, this one was a very fresh lineup. I mean, this was a whole new aesthetic they were running with.
This was the first like non-Japanese show in 4 or 5 years as well.
Yeah. They were trying to make some very stylized designs work in reality in both modes. And as we've said, the cartoon cheats like buggery, probably more than any other of the shows, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
Because of how everything does transform, because clearly everyone's quite flexible. The toys tried, and
well, the designers tried. They tried them. I'm sure they tried like hell.
Yeah.
I think the only toy line that would have been harder for them is the movie stuff. I think that would have probably been harder, but animated would have been like similar-ish time. We've got the movie stuff. We've got like what was it, Revenge of the Fallen's happening aroundish now.
Yeah,
not too far away from now, and you've got this at the same time. Those toy designers must have just been sweating.
Yeah,
sweating.
Honestly, when you think of it those times, it's actually amazing we got anywhere near as good as we did.
Yeah,
because maybe not in animated but around that time we were getting some absolute bangers. So
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, that'll have to end us for part 1, Big D. And then maybe, depending on what the news is again, either next week we'll be picking this up or not. I checked the news this week and it seemed dry.
Kind of quiet, really.
It was pretty dry. There's a few bits here and there, but it's like, yeah, I could put it off for another week. So where can people find Big D if they want some D action?
Oh, I am all over the interwebs and all the socials as David Kelly with either this particularly handsome visage because of Mr. Gruff, or with a picture of Cup because I am the definition of a cranky old man these days. I also co-host Fluff and Busters with Mr. White, hosted by the Fluff and Hammer, where we pick a movie and yap over it. And you can have that as a commentary track of sorts where we find nuggets of information, go off on tangents and have a bit of a nice chat. Gruff again has roped me into be his co-host on the Deeper Dives series on the Fluff and Hammer.
Ooh.
Where we go through various articles on the website and dig deep and have a yammer and kind of the world's worst. What's the word? We're a recursive loop as we keep encouraging each other's bad behaviours.
Oh, good, good.
See the most recent conversion clinic article where we both suddenly realise, oh no, I want to do another army or two.
Oh no.
And a plan, and you can hear us planning this in real time because we're that bad. And occasionally, if anyone wants to yammer, I put up Fluff and Hammer Community Radio to have a natter about stuff. I might try and do one in a few weeks for the Black Library Weekender. See what gets revealed. You never know. Might be interesting. But yeah, that's kind of me. Oh, and I contribute to the UKanime.net because I like mechs and I cannot lie.
Yay!
Yeah, that's me.
You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube as Decade Andy. You can find us on the Moonbase 2 forums on, again, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, iTunes. YouTube is Moonbase 2 Transformers Podcast. We're also on ccbunker.weebly.com. If you want to join us on a Sunday, it's usually at about 9:30, maybe a little bit after, in the evening, on Twitch and YouTube and whatnot. And yeah, those are all the spaces and places you can find me, I think. I stream most nights. We're done with Sifu, so it's going to be a lot of hitmanning because that game is disgustingly big. There's so much to do in it.
It is.
It's like intimidatingly big.
I've been going back through it myself, actually. I know I've been trying to do some of the escalation contracts, which they're just ludicrous because they give you a target to kill and then a set of parameters to do it in. And then if you do that, you have to do it again, but with a new set of an additional challenge added on.
Okay.
And some of them just get real evil real quick.
When do I unlock the banana?
The banana?
Yeah.
I can't remember how you unlock the banana, to be honest. I
want the banana. I keep quote unquote leveling up, and it's like, here's a new gun. I'm like, give me the banana. I want to kill people with the banana.
It is a very funny game for how you can, for some of what you can off people.
Yeah. I killed a man with a printing press last time, and I killed a man with a moose. I didn't have to kill him with a moose, but I saw the achievement. I was like, I got to do it. I've got a moose him.
I gave him a massage, then broke his neck.
Yeah. It was whereabouts was the massage, Big D? Was it above the waist?
Yeah. He was all around the shoulders, and it was like the achievement's the unhappy ending.
Big D's like, yes, it was all very professional. There was no hanky panky, not for him. I'm at the Budapest Hotel now.
The Bangkok one, but that's a very silly environment. But the nice thing about this version of Hitman is that they've turned each level basically into a playground to do horrific things to people.
Yeah, they're huge. Like most of the time, I spend my first half an hour going around picking up the quote unquote new locations to try and find everything. And then I go, okay, well, we've done that. Now let's go and find the funny ways to kill them first.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and electrocute the dude with the microphone. I don't know how I kill the other person, but that's the way I'm going to try and kill the dude next time when I play.
Yeah, that works.
That'll be my attempt.
I think the funniest one I've done to him so far is like I managed to get into the band and you see Agent 47 do a manic drum solo.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That sounds fun. But yeah, apart from that, we'll see you next week for Transformers next time.
Yeah, it's been fun. Cheers, dude.
Yeah, thank you.